What's up, San Diego? Happy Friday to everybody out there. It's a City Connect Friday, so you'll be seeing the, the pink and the pink and the turquoise or whatever the official colors are. I can't remember off the top of my head. Obviously, it's changing next year, but we got the City Connect graphics today on the YouTube stream. It's good to be talking to you after a victory Thursday on opening day, winning the first game of the year. You know, a lot of people always say, oh, maybe it sets the tone for the season. It really has no impact on the rest of the year, but it feels good to win on opening day when you have all the pageantry and you have the flyover and the flag on the field and you have the bunting all over the place and you're welcoming in a team that's expected to be, one of the teams you have to compete with for a National League pennant. It's fun to start 1-0. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to be 1-0 today. 162-0 is still in play. It's still available for the Padres. It's right there for the taking. But I digress with that. I thought yesterday was such a great game. And it started with such a great day at Baja Ricks. And I really want to thank everybody that came out to Baja Ricks yesterday, early in the morning for Ben and Woods, and then the continuation into my show leading up to first pitch at Petco Park. It was great. It was a great day downtown. We ended up getting beautiful weather yesterday. It was a little bit chilly for those in the shade. In fact, I looked at one point in the game, and everybody that was in the sun almost was sun tanning, and some guys had their shirts off. And then you look to the shaded part of the stadium, and people are wearing big heavy jackets and parkas. Welcome to San Diego in March, or even in April, for the first couple of months of Padres baseball. But overall, a great day. Great job by the Padres putting on such a great day for opening day. It was cool to see all of you guys out there. It's great to have baseball back in America's finest city. And then the game was also awesome. I mean, that was almost playoff level baseball yesterday. I mean, Atlanta took a 1-0 lead early after a review change on a play at first that when San Diego thought they got out of the inning with a double play, and then San Diego answers in the bottom half with 2 runs with the top of the order. And we talked about the top of the order is what's going to carry the Padres probably the entire year, and they looked like it yesterday. I mean, how great was it to have Fernando Tatis Jr. in the leadoff spot? Keep running that out there. Keep running Fernando out there in the leadoff spot. I've been preaching that for years. Years. He's got good numbers in the leadoff spot. He's got good numbers everywhere. He mentions that. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. We got some great sound from the clubhouse yesterday. But keep putting Fernando in the leadoff spot. Guy's so dynamic. Well, nobody's on base. If he gets a home run, it's only worth 1. Who cares? At least you start off with a 1-0 lead. And the only time it matters is the first at-bat of the game. Other than that, who cares? There's going to be different situations for him the rest of the game. He goes up there against Chris Sale, outside pitch, takes it the other way. I mean, that's like mid-season form for most players, not day one. Man, did Fernando have a great game yesterday. Fernando flat out was the best player on the field yesterday, with Jackson Merrill nipping at his heels. I mean, Ozzie Albies had a good day too yesterday for the Atlanta Braves early on. But you look at Fernando and you see him healthy and he's stealing bases and he's hitting the ball the other way. And even though I thought he got that ball that he ended up getting a single on, and he thought he got it too, he was kind of jogging down to first. He puts, with him batting leadoff, you could do so many things with him. He was the best player on the field. And you look at, again, what he could potentially accomplish. The guy's 26. I mean, before this kind of new phenomenon of bringing up guys when they're 18, 19 years old, and it's happened in the past, but, with the exception of the last couple of years where teams are bringing guys up way faster, I mean, 26-year-old, that's a lot of rookies out there. And so Fernando fully healthy and showing off his power again and feeling good at the plate already, and it's only game 1. He could have an MVP type season in 2025. This could be the year that I think Padres fans were waiting for. And not to say he hasn't performed to this level, because he has performed to this level. But Fernando could potentially give Ohtani a run for his money in the MVP race this year in 2025. 2025 MVP race. And Ohtani's a different animal. Obviously, he could pitch and everything like that. But if Fernando stays healthy, he's going to be in such a great spot to win an MVP, and the Padres are going to really benefit from him being there full time. He's got to stay healthy, though. We haven't seen him play a full season yet. But, man, does he look good. Jackson Merrill looked great yesterday also. I was interested to see why he was batting fifth yesterday and having Bogarts four. I mean, I don't really see Merrill as a four hitter, perhaps. I know they kind of dabbled with him batting third, and I'm sure he's going to move around in the lineup a lot. I think yesterday, obviously, going against Chris Sale, a left-hander who won the Cy Young last year, and then, of course, Jackson Merrill being still relatively new to the game might be the reason why he was down a little bit lower, but the guy puts his barrel on the ball all the time. I mean, even his first hit of the day, his 2 RBI single, just put bat head on ball, and he flicks it into center field for a base hit to score 2. Jackson Merrill, great at the plate yesterday, drove in 4 runs, did his job when he needed to. He's off to a good start after one day. Plus, he made a really good catch in center field. I mean, he's flashing the leather. Then how about that outfield for the San Diego Padres? Padres outfield with Brandon Lockridge in left field and Jackson in center and Fernando in right is like the fastest outfield you can have in Major League Baseball. They got some speed. They could cover ground. They're going to make some great plays. I mean, that was a no-fly zone out there yesterday. Brandon Lockridge definitely took away a 3-run homer from Ozzie Albies in left field with the leaping catch. I don't necessarily know Jackson Merrill took a home run away yesterday, but he definitely took away a base hit from a rookie. But Jackson Merrill had a great day. He was phenomenal yesterday. Fernando was phenomenal yesterday. We're going to get to the Jackson Merrill sound in a little bit. I mean, we got a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of breakdown for this one game. But it's good to be 1-0. I haven't even mentioned other parts of the day. I mean, Gavin Sheets, welcome to San Diego, buddy. He gets called upon to be that pinch hit off the bench, which we talked about, that left-handed bat off the bench, left-handed hitting DH. It's what he made the team for. It's what he was able to do. He went out there and hit a bomb in his first at-bat as a Padre to tie the game.
Sheets swings, sends it in the air, center field, straight away and deep. Harris is going back. He is at the wall, leaps up, and it's going to go! A home run! A home run! Pinch hit home run as Gavin Sheets ties it 4-4 here in the 7th. Welcome to San Diego.
Welcome to San Diego is right. I said it as soon as he hit the ball. I liked in those particular calls too, and you could see it on the Padres when they posted the highlight of Gavin Sheets hitting the home run, where it was just Nat sound. The ball was not carrying yesterday in left field or in center. I mean, you saw it with Fernando. You saw it with Manny's ball got hung up. There was a couple balls that the Braves hit I thought were gone, even though they did hit some out of the park. But I didn't necessarily think that was going to leave the building, especially after the other one that Jackson Merrill was able to snag earlier in the game. And you hear on the Nat sound, you hear the crowd get excited, and Gavin's running down to first. And then right before Gavin runs around first base, the crowd gets quiet, thinking, is this ball going to get caught or is it going over the fence to tie the game? And then you hear the crowd erupt because the ball is deposited on the other side of the center field wall, and the Padres tied the game at 4. That was such a great opportunity I feel so good. I feel so happy for Gavin Sheets. Guy obviously, had a rough time in the last couple of years in Chicago. I mean, playing for the White Sox is rough. He came into this organization on a minor league deal, trying to make the team, makes the team, gets an opportunity at the big leagues, and when you are a pinch hitter, that is a tough ask, man. That is tough to go into the game cold, not having played, facing a relief pitcher that's humming it, and go out there and make an impact. And he did with the solo shot to tie the game up at 4. And then later on, you had Elias Diaz. I mean, Elias Diaz did a good job with the stick. Now, defensively, it was kind of a rough first inning. I don't know how much of that is on Michael King and how much is on Elias Diaz, but he got a couple of hits yesterday, and they were scorched. It's one thing to tie the game with a home run, but when your offense continues to get hits after that and try to get that big inning, and that's exactly what the Padres did. Diaz gets the knock. They pinch run for him. I don't know what took so long for them to pinch run for him with Hayward. I mean, you could have just done it immediately. They waited for a 3-2 count to Fernando. I don't know what the reasoning was behind that, but they have Hayward pinch run for Diaz. That leads to a couple more runs later on in the game, and the Padres end up winning it 7-4 over the Atlanta Braves. I'm on a great day. And obviously, it's day one. So I do not expect you guys to go out there to Petco Park right now and start waiting in line for playoff tickets. It's just one game. And there's still 3 more games against Atlanta that are going to be tough baseball games. And we got a lot to break down with Major League Baseball yesterday as well. I know everybody was, paying attention to the Padres, but there were some other scores out there that were interesting to see. Start paying attention to some of those teams outside of the Padres, but it's only game one. We got a long season to go. And even though we talked about all the positives to start things off, because the Padres won 7-4, there are some things that they obviously need to fix. And we'll talk about those as well. Padres win it yesterday, 7-4 over the Atlanta Braves. You want to join the show today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Just getting started on the Braden Surprenant show, following a Padres opening day win yesterday on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:17 on a Friday, and a fun Friday after a Padres victory on opening day. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. Always good to start season 1-0, and there's so much to unpack after that one game. Obviously it's just one game, and this is going to be the case if the Padres won or lost. It's just one game, so don't overreact to the first game of the season. Losing the first game of the year, you weren't going to start the year 0-162. But if you win the first game of the year, you're not going to go 162-0. Now, that being said, I have to say, our guy and friend of the show, my buddy Matt, who just was the ultimate curse last year for the first half of the season, going to games and not winning baseball, and the Padres not winning, finished the season strong last year, went to the playoff game that they won, is currently 1-0. He wanted me to tell everybody to make sure they're off his ass. It's not his fault, and the Padres are now 1-0. So Matt's now the good luck charm out there. There we go. 1-0 for Matt in attending ball games. I'll let you know how the rest of the weekend goes. I got other friends that are attending games in which I am not present. I keep records to see whether or not you're banned from Petco Park. Now, my brother's going tonight. So if the Padres lose tonight, I'm not there, and my brother's there. Mate, I'm just saying, might be in play. Might be in play. But we'll see. Saturday, we'll have our shows live at Tom's Watch Bar out in the East Village party, and it should be a fun time. But overall, of a great game yesterday. I know some of you obviously had to deal with trying to watch it on the stream, and it got a little bit janky there for a little bit, but they were able to get that thing going. So it's opening day for a lot of people. It's like Disneyland on the first day that they opened. A lot of things that need to be fixed for some in different avenues that will be fixed. Anyway, let's talk about this Padres game a little bit more. Gavin Sheets, what a big impact he already made as a pinch hitter off the bench, as that left-handed DH that he's supposed to be for the San Diego Padres. And we'll see if he starts today as a designated hitter against Fernando Lopez. I mean, when you look at the way the lineup was constructed yesterday, obviously Lockridge got to start because a left-hander was on the hill. Yuli Gurriel started because a left-hander was on the hill. But I wonder if Gavin Sheets might get some more playing time after yesterday. Here's Gavin Sheets yesterday after the game, as he talks about that big home run that he hit, the pinch hit home run late in the game to tie the ball game for the San Diego Padres in his first at-bat with the San Diego Padres. A big welcome to San Diego, building off of that great spring training that he had this season in order to make the team. Here's Gavin Sheets post-game yesterday.
Congratulations. Nice way to introduce yourself to the Padres fans out here.
Yeah, that was incredible. Just the emotions of the whole game, and obviously to have that at bat right there. It's a lot of fun to be here and just to feed off this crowd and this team. It was what an awesome start.
That's a turning point in this ball game too. I mean, are you thinking about that after you're rounding the bases?
Thinking about it a lot when I'm rounding the bases. Just try to enjoy the whole moment. But yeah, in that situation, I want to come in, and obviously pitch hitting's tough there, but you want to spark the offense in some way. We played a great game, and just to be a little piece of that right there, just wanted to get the inning going, and obviously got a spark there.
This is nothing new. You've been doing this all spring training long, especially towards the second half. So how good did it feel to be able to carry what you did in the spring training to make this ball club and make an impact coming off the bench like that?
Yeah, it was didn't quite feel like spring training home run right there. That was different. So no, but just riding out, obviously making the team was huge here, and just want to be a contributor to this lineup. Whatever it is, add depth, whatever it is, but be a piece every single night, and whether it's coming off the bench or starting, whatever it is, I just want to be a piece of this.
This was one of the identities of this ball club last year, was comeback victories. How important is it to be able to do something like this early in the season and reestablish that?
Absolutely. Against a really good Atlanta Braves team, and we threw the ball well, and then we did a lot of really good things on offense, where it was base running, stealing extra bags, getting the big hit, getting the big sac fly. I mean, just a lot of really good things that we did today. So to get that win and get that momentum was awesome.
How do you go from, the anticipation for opening day, but you're on the bench, you're not starting, and then you have to get ready for an at-bat later in the game? How did you manage that?
just embrace it. Hope that you get a moment where you can get in and make a difference, and just be ready for any moment. Obviously, Schulte told me, just be ready when the righty gets going, and so I knew going in kind of what the role for the game was going to be, and just embracing that and hoping you get a shot.
Everything about Gavin Sheets and what he has been able to do the last, couple of weeks, but then to get a reward for that hard work, in multiple ways. And the thing is, and I mentioned this earlier on the show a couple of weeks ago about Gavin Sheets, and he was off to it was spring training. And I mentioned the spring training stats, and they obviously, they don't necessarily, equate to what you're going to do in the regular season. So be careful about the Gavin Sheets hype in spring training. And I compared it to what would have happened, back in the day to a player that made the Orioles, that had a great spring, and then he made the Orioles and nothing really worked out for him and ended up knocking him out of the league. So, making the team is one goal for Gavin Sheets, but that's not the only goal for Gavin Sheets. It's to stay in the major leagues. Brandon Lockridge, in a sit-down interview with Kevin Acee for the San Diego Union Tribune, talked about this and how it is easier. It's not easy to be a big league ball player. Easier to make the big leagues than it is to stay in the big leagues. And so for a guy like Gavin Sheets to work his tail off in the offseason to try to make a big league club, to sign with the Padres, a team that's going to be competing in 2025, to go out there and rake in spring training, to make the team, and then get an opportunity in a big league game and execute. That is so awesome. That's the best part about this entire story. He could have gone up there and punched out or popped up or something like that, and it wouldn't be like, send this guy out of here. You got to give players time in the sport of baseball. It's built on failure. But the fact that Gavin Sheets already hit a home run, that's awesome. Hopefully it builds his confidence more. Hopefully it continues to grow over the year. Hopefully Gavin Sheets could be this, diamond in the rough player that AJ Preller's put together the last couple of seasons. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I don't think, I think it's going to be difficult to kind of match what Jurickson Profar did for the Padres last year. And I saw some people, tweet at me some of their fill in the blanks that they wanted to do. It's like, hey, you know what? Maybe he could be Jurickson Profar. I don't think he's going to be that level, but he could definitely be an impact like a Donovan Solano or David Peralta. And if he's somewhere between those two guys and Jurickson Profar, the Padres are going to have a great year to have a guy like him coming off the bench, to be able to swing the bat like he does, to be able to start against right-handers, to be a DH in the lineup, or maybe get some starts in left field. Great start for Gavin Sheets. Welcome to San Diego. That gets people going, especially when he ties the game, and then the Padres started a rally. Manny Machado met with the media after yesterday's game as well. He talks about what it's like to win that first game, but also what it's like to be healthy right now. That was a big talking point for us leading into the season about, even though they didn't spend too much money in the offseason, money's already been spent, they're getting a lot of their star players back healthy. Manny Machado had a decent day yesterday for the Padres. Here's what it means to him to win on opening day, but also be healthy during the season.
The opening day wins are fun, but the way you guys did it again, it seems like it's just picking up right where you guys left off last year with the come from behind victories.
Yeah. Obviously we scored a couple runs there early on, and then Chris Sale got locked in, and it was tough to get a couple runs across the board there, and like we've been doing last year and practicing all spring, just keep battling, keep playing the game, and try to take advantage of those situations when the first guy gets on. Obviously that was a big hit by Sheets coming in, pinch hitting, and hitting a home run. Kind of started off that inning, and then great at bat by our catcher going out there and battling, getting a hit. Toddy coming up, hitting behind the runner. It just led to a big inning. It was all around good baseball.
Last year, part of your identity, as we talked about, was being able to come back. How important is it to sort of reestablish that here early in the season, even though it was a big part of who you guys were last year, and a lot of the same guys are back? It's a new season.
Emphasis all spring training was continue to grow, right? Continue to grow from where we left off last year, and
it was a good example today. And we just gotten better overall as a group. We've learned from each other. We've learned, how to deal with these situations, and we're just continuing to get better at it.
For you personally, coming back healthy this year from day number one, to be able to get the big hits that you did, and also stealing some bags, how good does it feel to be able to contribute in every way today?
Yeah, man. It's gonna take everything. All part of the game, and try to take out all the tools out of the tool bag. But just going out there trying to compete, trying to do what we can to get some runs across the board and help our pitching staff out. So whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. We're going to talk about the base running aggressiveness later on in the show, but because there was the game within the game yesterday in that inning from the Braves and from the Padres. We're going to talk about that later on. But Fernando in the leadoff spot, what does he think about being in the leadoff spot? And can he put together an MVP type season? What does that mean for the San Diego Padres? We'll discuss next on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:34, the Braden Surprenant Show on 97.3 The Fan, San Diego's #1 sports station, talking about a Padres victory yesterday. And again, a lot of people are excited. You can't overreact to just one game. I've put that out there before. It's not like the National Football League where you got a game and then a week off and then the build up to the next game. So even though it's very positive today, because the Padres did win, there's a lot of positive things to get out of yesterday. And I think a lot of you might be waking up a little wounded today as well. Sushi Sam, wounded after a long day at the yard and after. I can see in the chat. He is wounded. Hopefully he feels better. There might be a lot of you like that. I wonder what the productivity is at work today in San Diego for most people. Or yesterday, for that matter. I had one friend yesterday go, I've worked 4 hours in the last 2 weeks. This is awesome. With all of the... He works from home, so he's got March Madness on, and he's got the Padres on now, and he went to opening day and everything like that. Hilarious. Another good game today for the San Diego Padres. It's Beer Fest tonight at Petco Park. Should be a great time down at the ballpark as they continue opening weekend again tomorrow. We will be live at Tom's Watch Bar leading up to first pitch. A little bit different of a start time on Saturday just because of the game being on Fox, on Major Fox. So you can join us tomorrow as we broadcast live at Tom's Watch Bar on 8th and J from 10 a.m. to 3:15 for the East Village Block Party. Ben Woods will hit the air at 10 a.m., followed by the Braden Surprenant Show and Gwen and Chris. Check out all the baseball action while enjoying Blue Moon and Coors Light, along with delicious food like Tom's famous prime rib dip sandwich. That's this Saturday at Tom's Watch Bar on 8th and J Street. Brought to you by Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. I wonder if Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to be batting leadoff again. I think he should be the everyday leadoff batter for the San Diego Padres for everything that he does and the intangible he brings and the fear that he brings. I mean, he even got Chris Sale to step off and use a disengagement against Fernando when he was on third base. I mean, think about that. At the time Fernando was at third base, Manny Machado had already punched out for the second out of the inning, and Xander Bogaerts was at the dish. And even though a lot of Padres fans dislike Xander Bogaerts, I'm going to be the #1 fan of Xander Bogaerts throughout the entire season, good or bad, because he's on the team. He ain't going anywhere. You might as well support the guy. And I don't think he did that bad of a job yesterday. But after Manny punched out, which nobody was upset about him punching out, but we're upset about for Xander punching out. I digress on there. But with Xander at the plate, who had struggled last year, that's not as big of a threat as Manny, with Jackson Merrill on deck, and Fernando at third, Sale is too busy dealing with Fernando at third base. He steps off twice instead of just pitching to Xander. I mean, think about that for a second. When do you ever see a pitcher worried about the runner at third with 2 outs and a guy at the plate that he thinks he can get out? Never. That's part of that's part of the X factor of Fernando leading off a game. You put pressure on the pitcher early and often. Not only is he a big threat with the stick, he's a big threat on the base pass. I mean, he looked like, as Johnny in the chat said, he looked like 2019 Fernando running around the bases. I mean, it's kind of awesome when you don't have any type of fracture in your femur, strongest bone in your body. I don't even want to know the level of pain that probably was for Fernando last year, but he was dancing all over the place on the bases and swiping bags. Does he have a goal for bases stolen this year? I mean, this is the kind of the first time with the new rules that, and Fernando being healthy, that he could go out there and swipe a bunch of bags like Ellie De La Cruz. They asked Fernando, you got a stolen base goal in mind?
How about your bag running 100%? Do you have a stolen base goal in mind this year?
I don't, but that's a good start.
30, 40?
Around there.
How different does it feel to run like that now as compared to last year?
I mean, it's way different. Like I said, I was in one leg last year and, still find a way how to make it happen. But this year I'm healthy and hopefully I can keep it that way.
you like batting leadoff?
Yeah, I'll figure it out anywhere.
Your numbers are great. Does it?
I think they're good everywhere, but it's
Yeah. Does it change anything?
Huh?
Does it change any approach?
No, just get it started. Put the ball in play, run the bases hard. That's all I do.
Doesn't matter. Your numbers are good in the leadoff spot. My numbers are good everywhere. Well, hard to argue against that, Fernando. Yeah, I would say so. As long as you play, and with him poised to have a full season, a healthy season, at age 26, he could have an MVP type season. He could be the MVP of the National League. Now, unfortunately, here's more unfortunate news for Padres fans is losing out on the Rookie of the Year last year because you had to happen to go against Paul Skeens, who was a phenom pitcher, and now with the MVP in the National League being Shohei Ohtani almost every single day, or sorry, every single year, because he can pitch, it's going to be hard to win the National League MVP. But I do think he could give them a run for their money. He could give Ohtani a run for his money. You look at his advanced hitting. I love him in the leadoff spot for multiple reasons. And, you could hear Tom Kraslovic ask him the question of, does it matter? And he says it doesn't matter. You just got to start the game off. You just have to start the game off. And when you got a player like Fernando, you want to let him be Fernando. There are certain players in professional sports that you just have to let them be. Let them go do their thing. Fernando is one of those players. He's one of those players that you just let him do his thing. The approach of being a leadoff guy, traditionally see a lot of pitches, grind out the at-bat, you can work a walk, just get on base, right? But when you're Fernando, his intangibles are more than just working a count and drawing a walk. His intangibles are more of starting the game off, seeing a fastball first pitch and putting it in the seats. And you're up 1-0. His intangibles are, ripping a double to the gap and you got a runner in scoring position with no outs to start a ball game. His intangibles are, even if he does get a single or gets hit by a pitch or he does walk because teams might be afraid of him, now he's a dynamic runner on the base paths. He's somebody that you have to seriously worry about. Fernando has now played, after yesterday, he has now played in his career 162 games starting in the leadoff spot. 162, a full season batting in the leadoff spot. Fernando as a leadoff hitter in a full season worth of statistics, 162 games. He has hit .311 with a 600 slug. He's got a 977 OPS. He has hit 49 home runs batting first with 111 RBIs and 38 stolen bases. I mean, the stolen bases are arbitrary to the situation. His OPS plus is 119, his TOPS plus. Now, his TOPS plus indicates if he did better or worse than his usual split in this split. So it's relative to him. So a number that is better than 100 indicates that the batter did better than usual in this split. Greater number than 100, better than he usually does in the split. Whatever that means. But it's better than it usually is. So than any other spot in the order, basically, is what it is. You look at batting second for Fernando. A lot of people like him batting second. He's not nearly as good batting second. In fact, he has actually hit second more times in his major league career than any other spot in the order. He hits 255. It's still good numbers. I mean, guy's a phenomenal player. He hits 255 in the 2-hole with an 805 OPS, 59 home runs. He's done, again, more opportunities, 149 RBIs. But if you look at overall, where he hits in the order, he does the best in the leadoff spot. He does the worst batting third. He's only done that 13 times, though. It's a very bit of a small sample size. He's actually done really well batting cleanup, hitting 326. And then everybody else, every other spot in the order, he's hitting those spots less than 40 times. But batting leadoff, that's the spot for Fernando. Because he could go out there and do a lot of different things. That's why I've been such an advocate for it. That's why I will continue to try to continue to make sure I'll do everything in my power to try to convince you fans out there that Fernando needs bat leadoff every single game. It's what everybody else is doing in Major League Baseball anyway. Ohtani bats leadoff. He's potentially going to win an MVP this season. I mean, he's arguably the best player in baseball. Ronald Acuna Jr., when he's healthy, which he's not for the first month, so Padres dodge a bullet with that in the first weekend of the series or the season, he bats leadoff. All of like the big figure players that are fast, that can do a bunch of things, that are the dynamic, like face of the franchise, face of Major League Baseball, are leadoff hitters. Not only does he start the game off, which is what everybody's always concerned about. That's only one at bat of the potential 4 that you're going to get. You also get him up more and more times. I talked about it earlier in the hour. Fernando yesterday was the best player on the field, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. And the only player that was close to Fernando on that field was Jackson Merrill, the starting center fielder for the San Diego Padres, who has a lot of intangibles that Fernando has. Those are the best 2 guys in the field all day yesterday. And we're talking about a lineup for Atlanta that top to bottom is very good. We're talking about a lineup for Atlanta that a lot of MLB executives expect to knock off Los Angeles. And in fact, they were voted upon by MLB executives to be the team most likely to beat Los Angeles. That's the team that the Padres just played, and that's the team I'm comparing Fernando to. Now, they are missing a couple of guys, but he's still the best player on the field. I don't care if Ronald Acuna Jr. is healthy or not. Fernando looked better than any time I've seen Acuna Jr. And that's tough comparison right there. I mean, it's razor thin. Now, the gap is a lot different, and Acuna's accomplished a lot in his career for a very talented Braves team. But we're talking about, out of all the players that played yesterday in the Padres-Braves game, a Braves team that's going to be a playoff team that is most likely going to win the National League East, Fernando was the best player on the field, bar none. Bat him leadoff. Now, they asked him about his stolen base potential goals, whether or not he had any goals for stolen bases. He's already got 2 this year. Now he's got to try to keep pace with Manny. Manny's tied with him at the top right now with 2 stolen bases himself. They asked Manny about that yesterday, about the steal of third. We're going to talk about that when we come back in the next hour, the aggressiveness on the base paths. Is this the San Diego Padres, or is it the fact that they're going against a rookie catcher? And some other things with the with stolen base. The aggressiveness I thought yesterday was awesome. The hit and runs yesterday were awesome. They were playing some Big West baseball out there, the San Diego Padres were. You don't see that except for like a Tuesday night or maybe a weekend series. Yeah, Manny, 50-50. Hey, watch out. 50 homers, 50 stolen bases. He's off to a good pace right now. But Fernando, they asked him about does he have any goals for stolen bases? Like, not really. And then Krasnovic goes, 30, 40, something around there. I mean, 30 or 40 stolen bases. I think it's very doable for Fernando. I mean, Ellie De La Cruz just tries to steal bases every time he gets on base. I think Fernando could do the exact same thing. I mean, he ended up advancing to second on a wild pitch, which negates one of his stolen base, which negates the stolen base that he had. He could have had 3 yesterday. And in that at bat, we were asking, well, why isn't he going? Hayward is at third. You could have worked some magic there. I don't know why they decided not to send him in that particular case. He ends up advancing anyway on the wild pitch. But that being said, I mean, I don't know why he doesn't attempt all the time. Now, you don't want to run into outs, especially in crucial spots. I don't know who's going to throw him out. I mean, it's going to be very rare he gets thrown out. Now, the most stolen bases he's ever had in a season, Fernando, is 29. He had it in 2023, where he played 141 games for the Padres, coming off the PED suspension. And before that was 2021, where he was an all-star. He had 25 stolen bases. He's going to blow past that. I don't think 30 stolen bases is a high number for him to go reach. 40? I think he could go get 40. Especially with the new bases, with the pickoff rules, with everything like that. If Fernando wants it, he could go get it. He could be a 40-40 guy. He could be a 40-40 guy. 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases. Fernando Tatis Jr. could absolutely be a 40-40 guy. That is a huge ask and a huge number. And I'm not saying he's going to do that after one game. Almost had a home run yesterday. That thing died on him. He was kind of admiring his work a little bit. I'm not overly upset about that because, Manny did the same thing on the ball that just died in left field. I mean, that was weird. The ballpark yesterday, it was playing weird with left field. I think the only one that crushed it through the unbreakable wall to left field for a home run was Austin Riley, and he destroyed that ball. But even like the ball Albies hit that I thought was gone, that died a little bit too, that gave Lockridge an opportunity to rob it. I mean, that ball's over that short fence over there in front of the Western Metal Supply Company building. Ball was dying in left field. So some people might have been upset that Fernando, kind of walked a little bit, thought he hit a home run, went off the top of the fence. I'm not really concerned about that, and here's why. Because if Fernando hits a ball that he thinks is gone, he's stuck at first, what do you think he's going to do the next two pitches? He's probably going to steal second or steal third. You know what? Maybe he'll help his stolen base stats. But if let's talk about it in a situation of if can Fernando go 40-40? I think he can. If Fernando goes 40-40, does he win the MVP? Does that outdo Ohtani? I think it makes the conversation very difficult. I mean, I don't really trust the voters too much on a lot of these particular situations, but 40-40, I think Fernando could give 40-40. He's healthy. He's hitting the ball well. I mean, the balls that he hit yesterday, even the opposite field, were scorched. And if you got your leadoff hitter in Fernando this early in the season, getting pitches away and driving them the other way, you're going to be in great shape. I mean, the hit and run with Jason Hayward, chef's kiss. That's awesome. We don't see a lot of that in Major League Baseball anymore. That was awesome. I think Atlanta baited them into doing that too. I think they baited Jason Hayward into trying to steal second and trying to get a strikeout, throw out. It worked out with a hit and run. The Padres were aggressive yesterday on the base pass with the hit and runs. They were aggressive with the stolen bases. They were playing a lot of games out there. I loved it. I mean, that's the style of baseball you like to see out of this group. I mean, and they have the ability to do it because they got the players to do it. And you're going to see more of that. But I thought yesterday's game, just to kind of recap the first hour, I thought yesterday's game was entertaining. I thought it was exciting. And there was not a single point yesterday I thought that the Padres were done or couldn't come back. And this is game one. And we've seen Padres teams, and we even saw this team last year struggle for a long time to score runs. That was early in the season last year. But another year with Mike Schilt as the manager, the same core group of players coming back, a lot of those players being fully healthy. And you got guys, I mean, let's talk about Luis Arraez for a second as we finish up the first hour. He tried to drop down a sacrifice bunt like 3 times. He got one of them down, and then he had a sacrifice fly on another. The guy's giving up at bats in potential statistics for the betterment of the team. I love that. I don't know if those bunts were called or if Arraez thought about doing that on his own, but he tried to do one early in the game in the first inning, couldn't get it down, ended up getting to 2 strikes, and then went to ended up grounding out. But again, with Arraez, now here's the deal with Arraez at batting in the 2 spot. If he doesn't hit the ball hard with Fernando's speed, it's not going to be a double play, but he usually hits the ball hard. That's why that first one wasn't a double play. But you got Arraez trying to drop bunts down to advance Fernando. Love it. You got Arraez trying to drop bunts down later in the game and did a sacrifice bunt later in the game to get a runner over to third base. Arraez did his job. When you got Fernando at second, they bunted him over to third, and then it was Manny punch out, Bogarts punch out. But you got guys moving runners, getting them on, moving them over. Playing a little small ball yesterday for the San Diego Padres. It was awesome. I thought that was fun to watch. I don't know how much of that was against the fact that the Braves had a rookie catcher behind the plate to see how much they can get away with. But the aggressiveness is great for the San Diego Padres. I want to continue to see that. I think they should continue to do that. With the speed that the Padres have and with the fact that it's a lot easier to steal bases this year, give me Fernando batting 1, give me Merrill batting 2. Let's wreak some havoc on the base pass, huh? Fernando gets on with a base hit, steals second, Merrill comes up. He's a great contact hitter, and he's got some pop for a young guy. He hits a double, trade places, maybe you steal third, you go first and third. Imagine how scary that is for a pitcher. Fernando standing at third base and Jackson Merrill standing at first base, and you got Luis Ariz or Manny Machado at the plate. Devastating. What was the game within the game yesterday when it comes to the base running? Are the Padres going to stay aggressive? We'll talk about that when we come back in hour number 2, the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 11 o'clock on a Victory Friday. Padres got it done yesterday on opening day against the Atlanta Braves. They won 7-4 and used some aggressive base running yesterday. It was fun to watch. It's just game one. We have 161 more of these to do. And even though spirits are high today, that doesn't mean the Padres are going to win every game for the remainder of the season. We do have to pump the brakes on a couple of things, and we will talk about some of the negatives as well. I mean, there's some things they need to work on. You know, Elias Diaz was kind of a circus behind home plate in the first inning. It was a rough day. Now, some of that had to be with, Michael King wasn't very good either. And so from a negative standpoint, I mean, King wasn't great. He only got 8 outs. I mean, your opening day starter is like your number one pitcher. He knows this too. He's not, it's not like we're saying anything he doesn't already know, and he doesn't already hold himself to a high standard for it. But you can't have your number one pitcher have 8 outs in game one. It was very sloppy, and there's something I think there is a little bit of. He was so excited. He loves pitching in front of Petco Park because the energy and the excitement. Sometimes you could get a little bit too excited. And sometimes that energy is too much. Sometimes, it happens a little bit more with the kids that I particularly coach. Again, at the high school level, it's different. They're not paid professionals that know how to handle themselves. But, sometimes when you're in these big environments and you're not used to it, I think Michael King is, but you can get a little bit too overexcited. Like sometimes you have to calm down a little bit and try to block out some of that energy. Now, there's guys that love to build off the energy and they're just like crushing Red Bulls and they're just all about it. And then there's other guys that they don't need so much of that. You can get to a point where you get too excited and get too excited too early. I don't think that was necessarily the case for King, but the way he talked about that energy for Petco Park kind of leading into it, it might have played a little bit of a factor, but it was very much an opening day crowd, though. It wasn't very much playoff level crowd. It was a good crowd on hand. I mean, almost all Padres fans, which is great. I mean, it's very rare now that you will find a Padres home game where there's a lot of the other team's fans. I mean, very rare. And we used to make the excuse, well, this fan base travels a lot and, they're a prominent team. I mean, aside from the Dodgers, and that's a different story, because a lot of those Dodger fans that go to Padre games are from San Diego. Okay, so it's not like they're traveling down in busloads. That's a different conversation, but you don't see a lot of Giants fans anymore like you used to. You don't see a lot of, I don't think I've ever seen a lot of Arizona Diamondbacks fans in town, but I remember seeing a lot of Cubs fans, a lot of Mets fans, and a lot of Atlanta Braves fans over the years. And yesterday it was opening day. Didn't see a lot. We'll see what happens this weekend. I'm curious. If you go to the game, let me know on Monday how many Braves fans you see. But the more your team wins, the less likely the other team's fans are going to show up because they don't want to show up to watch their team get their ass kicked. It's a pretty simple formula. And so the Padres are winning, and they've been consistently winning the last couple of years. Even years they don't make the playoffs, they're still good. They're a good team and just didn't work out near the end of the season. It's not like they're going 60 wins. But they've been in a position now where they've been consistently good and one of the better teams in the National League. You're not seeing that anymore. In fact, now you get to see Padres fans on the road. It's great. I love watching Padres fans on the road. Tuning into the ball game, you're like, hey, look at all the brown and gold over there. Awesome. So again, there was some negatives of yesterday's game, and King wasn't very good. The catching situation wasn't very good. Jake Cronenworth, 0 for day. Yuli Gurriel, experiment, not off to a great start. And, there's some of that's in play, obviously, and in terms of conversations in the front office of they kept Yuli Gurriel, and now they have to potentially trade Eggy Rosario because he's out of options and he's on waivers, and they got to trade him before he just goes away for free. And they've already got some, talking point, or they've already had some phone calls about that. And AJ Preller talked about that with Ben and Woods. We'll get to that later on this hour. But I do want to mention some of the base running for the Padres. I thought it was very aggressive. And I liked the double steal that they had. I liked Fernando swiping bags. I liked the aggressiveness of hit and runs. I mean, they're calling plays up there and they're executing. And whether or not the aggressiveness was there because of Drake Baldwin, the backup catcher, and rookie catcher as the starter because Sean Murphy's out, I don't know how much that was a factor. It's either they got a rookie catcher back there. Let's be aggressive, or this is what the Padres are going to be. I think this is what the Padres are going to be. This is the kind of team that is built right now for the Padres. They got some young players that can swipe bags. Your entire outfield is part of that equation. Even though Jason Hayward's up there in years, he still went first to third on that Fernando hit and run, and he could still run really well. I mean, he's not like he was back in the day, but he could still run a little bit. And they got some guys that can steal bases, but they weren't even afraid to have Machado and Bogart steal, two of their relatively slower players on the ball club. And that's what they did the double steal with. I mean, Manny Machado ended the day with 2 stolen bases and a steal of third. Who had that on their underdog fantasy? I wouldn't. I sure as hell didn't. Manny kind of talked about the double steal. It's pretty funny. But he talks about, and we're going to get to the clip of Manny talking about the double steal yesterday and executing the double steal and some of the base running. But I love the aggressiveness for the San Diego Padres. I love that they're being aggressive on the base pass. I mean, that's how you actually overcome a lot of star power too from the other teams that they have to compete with in the National League, is being able to run and take chances. Now, I will say about this, and there was people, and I was listening to the morning show, and, there's people that, I love the aggressiveness. This is great. This is awesome. Yeah, it's great when it works, right? It's great when it works. But the thing is, you're either in on the aggression or you're out on the aggression. You're not in when it works and out when it doesn't work. I mean, if it doesn't work and Manny gets thrown out at third right there and you end up not scoring, in that inning, are you still on board with the aggression? I don't mind it. I like the Padres being aggressive. And when you come from, and this is, again, from a coaching perspective, everything's great when it works. And until your product's on the field, it's hard to, really evaluate whether or not what you thought was going to work out. So in defense of Mike Shildt right now, in the future, when they do happen to swipe more bags and being aggressive, if it leads to outs and you run into outs, that's the game you play. I'm okay with that game. I'm satisfied with that game. I like that aggressive play. But you can't be sitting there going like, we love it when it works, and then Shilt's an idiot when it doesn't work. You can't say that. You live by the steal, you die by the steal. You live by the aggressiveness, you die by the aggressiveness. So I want to know now whether or not you are in favor of the Padres being aggressive on offense or against it. Because if you say right now you're for it, and then you give me a call about 3 months in the season where they run into a couple of outs in Colorado and they lose the game, and it's just ridiculous, and people just start losing their mind. Like, hey, you know what? You were on board with the aggression earlier in the season. That's part of the game you play. It's the same thing with college football and the NFL. You go up tempo. We're an up tempo team. We're an up tempo team. That's great. That's what you are. It's great when you're scoring 1,000 points a game and you got all these possessions. You know what? It's not great when your defense is out there the entire freaking game because you go 3 and out 5 times in a row and you burn 15 seconds off the clock. Oh, we don't really like the aggression now. Well, you can't pick and choose. I'm for the aggressiveness. Mike Shildt was post game. Talked about some of the base running and some of the aggressive play that they had yesterday's win against the Braves.
How important was the base running day as well?
Yeah, we talk about having an offensive machine, being able to do everything, with the Petco Park hitting. But, we can hit all we want, and we like the homers. Obviously, Sheets was a big blow, which we'll get to in a minute. But, we got to score when we get on base. So our base running matches our offense and our identities to be a machine with our base running, and everybody was on point with everything we did today.
Did you come in anticipating that Fernando would, reintroduce the running game to his game a little more than he's been able to?
Yes, we had a good feeling about that. He had the best feeling about it, so I'll take my cue from him.
Mike, the seventh inning double steal with Manny and Xander that set up, Jackson Merrill sac fly there to make it 7-4. Also, there are 2 veteran guys who maybe aren't known for running as much. Did you guys feel like those situations maybe could catch the Braves, kind of not sleeping but just not expecting it there?
Yeah, we're always looking for any disposable moment we can look to capture, and Manny bogey on top of it, Manny boom on point, and give credit to Bogey for being heads up, knowing he's looking to do something there, and the trail runner going as well. So it's a good opportunity to be aggressive, and I liked it. It was a winning play.
I like the aggressiveness. I mean, Fernando's going to do it anyway, regardless. I mean, you got to let that kid do what he does. That kid, I'm 4 years older than him. That player, you got to let Fernando do what he does. He's good at what he does. You let players like him be him. I mentioned that earlier in the show. And so he's already going to naturally be aggressive. You know, I think Merrill is one of those players too, to an extent. Maybe not as much as Fernando, but you got to let him be aggressive. I like the aggressive play. They're going to go after it. You know, I think some of it probably was because they had a backup catcher in, but I think most of it, this is the team that you're going to see out of the San Diego Padres. And I think this is a big key for success for San Diego this year is swiping bases and being aggressive on the base pass. And you know what? Sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes it's not going to work. I've seen that at the college level a lot. I mean, that's the style of play that USD baseball plays against, a different level with different players. But when they're aggressive and they are executing well, they're scoring a lot of runs. When they don't, they run into outs. In fact, it cost them a game on Tuesday against Cal State Fullerton, running into outs and not picking their spots in some particular cases. That's the live and die by the aggressive nature. And you know what? USD's got the philosophy of if we fail, we're going to fail aggressively, and we're going to take those results. So when those plays happened, it wasn't like head coach Brock Ungrich was just chewing out one of the players on the team for running into an out. That's not going to be the case with this team either. This is the philosophy of the Padres in 2025. We're going to be aggressive. Try to stop us. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Jackson Merrill, part of that equation. He is on fire already to start the season. Drove in 4 runs yesterday. Saved a potential extra base hit from the game. Jackson Merrill should be thought of as the future of the San Diego Padres. Can the Padres keep him? Is it getting worse to try to sign him the better he gets when you don't sign him? We're going to talk about that when we come back. The Jackson Merrill story of the first game of the season and how it impacts the Padres' future. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
me to the curb. Guess you could say I got what I deserve. As I woke up on the wrong side.
And he swings, sends it in the air to deep center field. Jackson Merrill going straight back. He is at the wall, leaps up, and he makes the catch right in front of the fence. Gonna hang a star for Jackson Merrill on opening day 2025. Right in front of the wall in center field. Merrill went up, made the catch, and that is out number 2 here in the 5th inning.
It was a great catch for Jackson Merrill yesterday to really cap off what was a great game for Jackson Merrill and a 1-0 start for the San Diego Padres as they beat the Atlanta Braves 7-4 yesterday on opening day. Great day yesterday. It's good to meet a lot of you fans out there. I shook a lot of hands of fans that were excited for the Padres season. Thanks again for coming out to Baja Ricks. It was a good time hanging out with all of you guys. We'll be doing the same thing again on Saturday, leading up to first pitch between the Padres and Braves. This Saturday, come join us as we broadcast live at Tom's Watch Bar on 8th and J from 10 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. for the East Village Block Party. Ben Woods will hit the air at 10 a.m., followed by myself, the Braden Surprenant Show, and then Chris Ello and Matt Scraby will finish things off before you get you ready for Sam Levitt and the Padres pregame show. Check out all the baseball action while enjoying Blue Moon and Coors Light, along with delicious food like Tom's famous prime rib dip sandwich. I will be devouring one of those on Saturday. That's this Saturday at Tom's Watch Bar on 8th and J Street, brought to you by Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. I think a lot of you guys celebrated responsibly yesterday, at least with your rides home. I think some of you might have woken up wounded today, a little wounded after a opening day on a Thursday. Day drinking's tough, man. That's a tough battle. That is a tough ball game. You toe the rubber on the starting, be a starting pitcher on a day drinking day, and that's a rough outing. You are grinding out you're grinding out outs throughout the afternoon. Especially on opening day. It was hot and everything like that. I mean, by the time I met up with some friends after the game, they were already way ahead of me, obviously, because I wasn't drinking during the shows or working the game. I ended up having a couple social sparklers after the game and then headed out, and then they stayed out, and fastball lost its zip a little bit. They're losing a little velo. Getting up there in age, velo's coming down a little bit off that fastball. It makes the day drinking battles even tougher for some of these guys. Sushi Sam woke up wounded. We'll see if he sticks around later on in the day. What a day for Jackson Merrill, 4 RBIs, and that great play in center field. He hit 5th yesterday. I thought that was an interesting spot to put him. I know, albeit it was against the lefty and a Cy Young Award winner from the year previous, so maybe that was a little bit of a factor. But I found it odd that he hit 5th, but he did well in the 5 spot. I mean, it worked out for the Pods, right? So it's not like it was that crazy of an idea to have him bat 5th. But he drives in the first 2 runs of the game. He drives 2 more in later in the game. I mean, he was a great player all afternoon. And a big reason why the Padres have to try to keep this guy long term. And with every 4 RBI outing that he has, and every game that he continues to go out there and play at a high level, is costing the Padres millions of dollars. He said he wants to stay here in San Diego. I mean, a lot of players definitely want to stay in the organizations that they were drafted by. But again, it's a business on both sides of the aisle. And even though you're going to get a lot of production out of him and not having to pay him right now, it's going to cost you more in the future, like it did with Fernando in the future. We're going to hear from AJ Preller later on in this hour when he was on with Ben and Woods, and he obviously talks about, what the spending is a little bit in the future with this organization, as well as some different moves that have been made recently, and some other moves that, or should I say, the state of the Padres as we head into Game 2 of the 2025 season. And he does mention some things about Jackson Merrill, but I agree with Woods in a sense of he needs to be lingering at Jackson's locker in the clubhouse every day until he signs the piece of paper that he's going to be here for a long period of time. Because you don't want to be in a situation where that guy becomes a major fan favorite and he's playing in his prime alongside Fernando, who is a couple years older than him, and then all of a sudden the party ends because he outplays San Diego. Jackson Merrill had some good things to say yesterday about his play, including, robbing the rookie for Atlanta, their catcher, from a base hit on opening day on his major league debut. He was kind of, he was a little apologetic about it to him, and he talks about that in the post game. But Merrill is in what he brings to this team from a lot of different avenues is so great. I personally love how mature he is and how advanced he is as a player at his age. And we talked with him at FanFest. I mean, this guy is mature above his years, and here he is after yesterday's game.
Plate appearance, you fall down 0-2, and you still put together type of at-bats you've done all last year, just looking to get something done with 2 strikes, it looked like.
I mean, what else do you expect? Chris Sale, get down 0-2. I wasn't surprised by it. I wasn't stressing over it. I got down 0-2. I was like, it's fine. I got one more. I try to put the bat on the ball. Runners in scoring position, I think 2 outs, but at the same time, put the bat on the ball, make a play.
As much as you contributed on the offensive side, how exciting was it to leap up and rob that home run also there in center field?
I didn't feel bad because, it saved us a run or whatever rally it would have started. But I did go out to Drake. I was like, I'm sorry, man, your debut. I can't understand how that feels. But, no, the adrenaline was going. I told my family, my girlfriend before, this is going to be a blackout day. I'm not really going to remember it after it happens. So here we are. And I don't remember too much.
This was a big part of your team's identity last year, the come from behind victories. How important is it to establish that again here right in the early going?
Yeah, I mean, we were down 1 at the max all day. Like, we were never down that much. So, for us, it felt like we were winning the game even when we were losing. We like to say that we apply pressure, we don't feel it. And that was the story today. We didn't feel a lick of pressure. We were all in that game the whole time, every pitch.
What do you make of this of the start, the 7th inning, 4 runs there? How comfortable was it to see him knock that one over coming in the spot where he's been shooting?
Hey, bro, I don't sleep on these Baltimore boys, bro. That's all I'm going to say. These Baltimore boys, they got it in them. I was hyped for him, First day being a Padres uniform, homer, tie the game, opening day. Nothing better than that.
Will you wear that shirt all year?
I actually just put it on. I was trying to find him in the tunnel, but he wasn't out there, so but Miss Pro, happy with the guys we got in this room, though. Couldn't be happier.
Speaking of which, what do you make of what this outfield defense could be? Obviously, Lockridge made that nicely catch the ball. You had that. What can it be this season?
I mean, Lockridge is a reminder. He's been here one day. This is his first opening day, so he had some nerves going today, but he settled in. Just like everybody else, he came to play. And then as soon as Hayward gets in, makes an impact. Hit and run on third base, sack flies. Doesn't matter who we put in left field or who we put in center or right. We're going to play hard. It's Padres baseball.
We're going to play hard. It's Padres baseball. One of the quotes I love from Jackson Merrill. I love about 15 quotes in that entire 2-minute scrum. That was the next one I was going to say, Adam. Absolutely. We don't feel pressure. We exert pressure. We didn't feel a lick of pressure. We didn't feel a lick of pressure yesterday. They were down 1-0 to start the game. Didn't feel it. Didn't care. Unfazed. They took a 2-1 lead. They answered the call. Braves answered back. Braves took another lead. Didn't feel a lick of pressure. Padres answered back. I mean, answering back every single time. That's difficult to do. Very difficult to do. For any team at any level in baseball. Again, I'm going to have a lot of comparisons to just with my interactions with head coaches at the college baseball level. That's like a huge goal of them every time. Answer the call. Answer every time that the other team gets some runs. Put the pressure back on. Braves scored 1 in the first. Padres answered with 2. Braves scored 2 in the third. Padres answered with 1. Even though it was just 1, they still answered. Braves go up in the fourth, and even though it was a bunch of zeros after that, Padres dropped 4 in the 7th. Didn't feel a lick of pressure. We apply the pressure on other teams. It's a great phrase. Playing hard. Doesn't matter who's out in the outfield. We're going to be giving it our all every single time. That's Padres baseball. The other thing, too, I mean, he was wearing the Profar shirt. They asked him about it. I just put it on. And he talks about how much he misses Profar, but at the same time, he talks about how, he loves the guys that he has in the room. I mean, that is veteran level PR right there. Veteran level. You don't want to say you miss the guy on the other team and then just not credit your boys. Love it from Jackson. Mature beyond his years. 100%. 100%. Veteran. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Cameron and UTC, we're going to get to when we come back. Kevin, Mitch as well. We'll also hear from AJ Preller. What's AJ Preller got to say about this this team that he has built? He was on with Ben and Woods. We'll get to that as well. Plus the sports thread, all coming up next on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan.
build back your broken man.
Welcome back to the Braden Surprenant Show, live on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I'm Braden Surprenant, and we are going to be taking you up to 2 o'clock for Quinn and Chris. But I do want to mention that this hour of 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Eliminate Termite. The orange oil experts have termites. Eliminate Termite inspects, treats, and repairs termite damage, all with a full structural warranty. Our orange oil treatment is safe for people, pets, and the planet. No tent, no move out. Protect your home naturally. Schedule a free inspection at eliminatetermite.com. I do want to get to some of your phone calls today. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. For all of you that want to weigh in on the San Diego Padres, it's obviously a fun first game after they knocked off the Atlanta Braves 7-4 and start the season 1-0. For everybody that's watching on YouTube, and we had some pretty good YouTube numbers earlier and continue to rise, give us a like. It's a simple thing to do, whether you're watching on your phone or on a laptop or wherever you may be watching on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up. It really helps us out. It branches our network out to more Padres fans that might not know about all of our live shows or other people that are interested in coming up to be part of the 97.3 program. And if you haven't done so already, hit subscribe so you can get notifications when our shows start, including Padres pre- and post-game shows with Sam Levitt, Ben and Woods, myself, Matt Scraby with The Scraby Show, and, of course, Quinn and Chris. Give us the like. Subscribe to our YouTube page. You can also subscribe to my YouTube page as well at B_SURP. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube, on 97.3 The Fan, as well as my account. We're live on Twitch, too. I know we got an Aztec fan that usually tunes in on Twitch. So you can catch our show anywhere, wherever you're at. And then you can also listen on the Odyssey app and, of course, the traditional way in your car radios, driving around San Diego. Another nice March afternoon or morning, afternoon, about to be afternoon on a Friday. Be sure to follow me on social media at B_SURP, at BSURP. We're going to be cranking out more content for you on Instagram, TikTok, and on Twitter. So give us a follow. You can kind of We clip some of the best parts of this show in 60-second clips so you can engage in some of our talking points. I even had somebody do the fill in the blank that we did a couple of weeks ago because he just saw it the other day. I got Tony on one of them with a little emotional about the Aztecs. So, be sure to follow us on social media. I do want to get out to the phones, and we want to hear from AJ Preller. Let's get out to Cameron in UTC. Cameron, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, man?
Hey, Braden. I think I'm feeling pretty good, obviously, riding the high from yesterday. It was a great game. Obviously, we got 161 to go, but in the spirit of overreactions, I think, one of my favorite things about yesterday was we were playing to win. And there's a lot of different points in the game. You talked about the base running. You talked about Jackson Merrill. In that quote, one of my favorite things that he said there was that we were winning even though we were losing. There was no concern, and I loved the aggressiveness, and that's what it's going to take if we're going to be competitive this year is we got to just keep that spirit going. And it sure seems like the guys in the clubhouse have that attitude.
Yeah, they do. And I appreciate the phone call, Cameron. Thank you very much. But it's totally true. They have that mentality of being unfazed, right? Having that feeling that they were winning, even though they felt like they were losing. I mean, there was a couple of times in the game yesterday where at least up at the press box, I'm sitting there watching. The Padres felt like they were down I felt like the Padres were down 2 or 3 runs with the way that Atlanta kind of jumped out and seemed like they were playing well. And then the Padres, they were unfazed by the situation that was in front of them. And that shows a veteran club right there. That shows a veteran club, guys that know how to win, guys that have been there before, using their experience. And even though a lot of them have a World Series experience elsewhere, that's going to go a long way. And we talked about it yesterday on the show live at Baja Ricks, that culture that has been created here for San Diego and how it's continuing to build, with Club 44 that Joe Musgrove runs, with Manny Machado being now a veteran leader in the clubhouse, guys like Xander Bogaerts, Fernando buying in. I mean, that's part of the process of building a winning culture in San Diego. And I saw that yesterday with this ball club. Appreciate the phone call from Cameron. We do want to get to, and we have a little bit of time here, and we got to get to the sports thread about some of the things that AJ Preller discussed with Ben and Woods. And one of them obviously is talking about what we've been talking about the last, 15, 20 minutes or so, and that's Jackson Merrill being such a pro already. That was asked of AJ Preller earlier on the Ben and Woods show. This is what AJ Preller had to say.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson, again, like I think, I think I've said this a few times, kind of sneaking in to see him in high school because he was a guy that wasn't quite on the radar for a lot of teams. And, watching from, I don't know, 300 yards away or so, basically the one thing that shined through with Jackson was a good player, but that he was there to win and compete, in terms of win the game with his boys from his high school team. More than anybody that personally I had seen that spring. And I know it kind of sounds maybe like doesn't everybody do that, but just like you're talking about, I mean, it's like it's just a different level of compete, and he's just a winner, and it's hard to like quantify that sometimes. But I think yesterday in the lunchroom I saw him and before the game and just said, hey, you prepare for sale, you got a game plan. He said, just try and get a base hit to left field, and you see that at bat in the first inning where he kind of understands game situation and is able to. I mean, Sale's jumping up to 97, 98, crossfire from the left side, and Jackson finds a breaking ball and is able just to serve a base hit up the middle like he had said a few hours earlier. So it's, again, we've got a lot of good competitors, and Jackson, he's up there with from what really looks to like winning baseball players, he brings it. And, it's fun to see him in that moment. He's been doing that really since he's been in the organization. So it's fun to watch.
AJ Preller brought up a great point right there. Situational awareness. Situational awareness. Having that baseball IQ. I think younger players right now do not have a lot of situational awareness in sports. I see it at the youth level, in the high school level. I'm starting to see it at the college level. These kids continue to move up. There's no situational awareness for the sport that they play. And so for a kid that's, 21 years old or about to be 22, to be able to know that situational awareness and to be able to deliver on the situation is so phenomenal to have. It's so great to have. It's awesome. Think about all the rookies out there in Major League Baseball, even the highly talented rookies that play for a lot of different teams in Major League Baseball. You know what they do in that situation with runners on second and third and 2 outs against Chris Sale? They punch out because they're trying to hit the ball over the fence. They punch out because they're trying to do too much. They're trying to be the guy. I mean, you watch it in March Madness all the time with all these 3-point attempts that they put up there. I want to be the guy. Jackson Merrill understood the situation. He understood the assignment. He's got to find a way to get those guys in by any means necessary. He goes soft swing on a curveball or a slide piece in front of the plate, little off speed, trying to get him to chase on an A swing. Don't need an A swing with 2 strikes like that. Just put the ball in play. Goes defensive swing, flicks his wrist, punches it through. Not a high velo on the exit velocity, and he scores 2 runs. That is top level maturity. That is top level veteran presence. That is a guy that, even though he's still young, has been there and done that, doing what's best for the team. That 2-strike slider out in front of the plate, trying to get you to chase on your A swing, and you just flick your wrist, get it out in front. Little floater into center field, scores 2. Top level. That is top-level baseball IQ for young players that don't necessarily possess a lot of that in this day and age. It's a great call right there by AJ Preller on that particular situation. We do want to get to one more before we get to the sports thread. AJ Preller, again, we had the opening day roster get announced, kind of leaked throughout the week. They finally announced it yesterday, and a lot of big decisions had to be made with this roster. Yuli Gurriel over Connor Joe and Eggy Rosario. What do you do with Tyler Wade? Letting guys go. Now they have to potentially trade Eggy Rosario. How tough was picking the opening day roster for AJ Preller?
Again, I know the last, really kind of started maybe 3 weeks before we knew we had a break camp. Myself, Mike, our analysts, our scouting group, they were, pretty much every night we're hanging out, in the complex there in Peoria, and got the whiteboard up, and we're going, man, we're 7 names, 8 names, 9 names, it ended up being 10 or 11 names that are for 5 spots. So hopefully a good sign, in terms of for the season, having depth. And, it's always a good thing when you have options and have tough decisions. But, there were some really tough conversations over the last couple of days because we could have gone a lot of different ways with the team and the roster. Obviously some of it was keeping depth. Some of it was kind of the balance and blend, veteran, youth, athleticism, et cetera. And the good news is, the guys that we brought in, they made it, made us have some tough calls. And then I think looking forward to the rest of the year, I think we know that, there's going to be competition at the big league level. And as we need to see other pieces, whether we want to kind of change the look or style of our team, whether we have injuries and need some guys to come up and play well, we've got some guys throughout the organization that are going to be able to help us. That was all, that was all part of the decision. So obviously we went with the group we went to, but Oscar Gonzalez, Tirso, Connor Joe, Tyler. There was so many different ways we could have gone with it. And, I think exciting, but probably as tough of any calls here, this last few weeks in terms of just rounding out the roster.
AJ Preller on with Ben and Woods earlier today. We're going to talk more about what AJ Preller said on with Ben and Woods today, including about not making any trades this offseason. Will John Seidler give permission to acquire talent this year if needed? We're going to talk about that later in the show. We're also going to get back to baseball in terms of overreactions for opening day. There was a lot going on opening day yesterday throughout baseball. Let's take a look at the competition. But first, there's more to go with not only Major League Baseball, but in the sports world. This is where we catch up on what is going on in the sports world. It's today's Sports Thread.
You know that group chat, the one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
Adam Klug coming in to deliver us the top 5 trending stories in sports with today's Sports Thread. What's going on, Adam?
Not a whole lot, Braden. I am so happy to have baseball back. So happy.
It's so great. It just makes it so much better.
It was a lot of fun sitting with you at the game and watching that game and just talking ball yesterday.
It's good.
Let's get at it.
Number 1.
Padres fans had an opportunity to choose a side to root for or against in last night's Mets-Astros game. With the Mets trailing by 2 runs with 2 outs and 2 runners on base in the 9th inning, Juan Soto stepped to the plate in his Mets debut, representing the go-ahead run, facing off against Josh Hader. Hader struck out Soto to secure the save. Who were you rooting for to come through in that scenario, Josh Hader or Juan Soto?
Well, knowing that the Padres going to have to compete with the Mets, probably Josh Hader, I guess, at this point in time.
I always knew you were a Hader stan.
No, I am a whatever benefits the San Diego Padres the most, which in that particular case would be Houston Astros win to get things started. So, 2 former Padres dueling it out. The funny thing for me was I'm sitting next to Frank Marchese in the press box, who is a Mets fan. And one of my friends is an Astros fan that is texting in a group text during the game, and both are the most pessimistic fans of their club I have ever seen in my life. I had my Astros friend texting me going like, "This ends badly. This is not going to end well. Get it together, Hater." Meanwhile, Frank Marchese sitting next to me going like, "Oh, there's no way we're coming back from this. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. No way Juan Soto gets a hit." Astros fan Nick feels a lot better today than probably Frank Marchese does, but I thought that was hilarious. That was my only interaction with that game. But overall, whatever helps the Padres. Fortunately, Padres fans, it's Hader shutting down Juan Soto in that particular case.
Number 2.
We've got some stunning breaking news out of the NBA as the Memphis Grizzlies have fired head coach Taylor Jenkins, who was in his 6th season on the bench for the Grizz and became the franchise's all-time winningest head coach this season. Memphis is currently 15 games above 500 and sits in the 5th seed in the West. Grizzlies general manager Zach Kleiman said in a statement, quote, I genuinely appreciate all of Taylor's contributions to this team and this city over the past 6 seasons. This was a difficult decision given the consistent and tangible development of our players and overall success under Taylor's leadership. I wish Taylor the very best going forward, end quote. So they're winning games. They're developing players. What are the Grizzlies doing?
What do they want? What more do they want? Seriously, what more do they want? They're the 5th seed right now. The guy that they just fired has won the most games in Grizzlies history as a head coach. It's in the middle of the season or near the end of the season. We're ready for playoff
There's like
basketball.
10 games left in the regular season.
What more do they want? I don't understand. I don't understand these decisions from these organizations at so many different levels. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't get it. And that is my beloved Memphis Grizzlies because they got Desmond Bane, the TCU Horned Frog on the team. But why? Who are you going to go get right now?
Are you good, bro?
Are you good? Memphis, are you good? The answer is no. No, they're not good. Are you good? That's such a... What a bonehead move.
Number 3.
Sticking with head coaching breaking news, Colorado has given Deion Sanders a new 5-year, $54 million contract extension that makes him one of the 10 highest paid coaches in college football. Does Deion deserve to be a top 10 paid head coach?
I mean, from the standpoint of the fact that people know what Colorado football is now, I would say so. I mean, it's a gigantic marketing scheme. He's the world's largest helicopter parent, but so we'll see. I was kind of surprised that I didn't think he was going to last this long. I thought maybe 1 year after his kids leave, he stays, but he signed the contract extension. I don't know if he's going to try to get out of that in order to watch his kids play in the National Football League. I find that part to be a little interesting, but I think from a marketing standpoint, it's money well invested for Colorado. You got all these young kids that want to go play for Colorado, go play for Deion, even though he basically cuts most of them. And playing there is very difficult to do. We've had a couple of players go up there and say it's kind of a circus. But that being said, the traveling circus moves on, and people watch Colorado games to either root for Deion or root against Deion. It's all about Deion. It's all about Prime up in Boulder, Colorado. And before they had Prime, they had 0-12 seasons. And they were lousy and nobody cared about them. So from a marketing standpoint, season tickets are through the roof. Colorado fans are all about the Buffs now. They had a decent season last year in the Big 12. From the standpoint of a marketing scheme, yes, all about it. From a coaching standpoint, I don't necessarily know it's worth an extension, but I'll tell you right now, we're talking about Colorado football a lot more than we've done in the past. So for Colorado football and the sake of people buying tickets, sounds good.
Number 4.
Hey, Padres die hard. Go Pods.
Yeah, you got a lot of people chirping at you about the Braves Padres situation.
I was born and raised in Atlanta.
I know, it's fine.
What do you want from me? But I've been here for 7 years, and I just said go Pods.
Yeah, I don't know why we got to question the guy's fandom. He's a fan of both teams. He's hoping both teams have fun.
Lost in the excitement of opening day was the resumption of the NCAA tournament last night. There were 4 Sweet 16 games, with Alabama throttling BYU, Florida advancing past Maryland.
25 3-pointers yesterday for Alabama.
Insane.
Duke
beating Arizona. Sorry about that, Braden. And Texas Tech surviving in overtime against Arkansas.
Bang, bang, Red Raiders.
That is all chalk winning last night. 2 1s, a 2, and a 3 seed. Which result from last night was the most significant?
I think it was. Texas Tech coming back to beat Arkansas. They were in a huge hole. They're down 15 points like late in the second half. They come all the way back. They forced to go to overtime and they win in overtime. It's a good win for Texas Tech in the Big 12. Arizona. I thought Arizona. The officiating near the end of that game was kind of rough with some of the hook and holds. I mean, one was a technical in Arizona. One was a common foul for Duke. That was kind of controversial, but. It was going to make a difference in the end of the game. I mean, Duke is a different animal, but Caleb Love had a great showing for the Arizona Wildcats, and Arizona's got 3 of the top commits coming in next year. So we'll see if Arizona retools. But that being said, I think it's continuing to be chalk. Looks good for me. First place in the brackets in both my bracket pools, including the Scraby one. So hoping for more chalk tonight. We'll see what happens.
I'm sure you're letting Scraby know about that.
I haven't yet.
Number 5.
The Green Bay Packers recently proposed for a rule change that would ban the famous tush push, which has been a point of discussion with the success of Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. In order to change the rule, 24 of 32 owners, or 75%, would need to approve the rule change. According to NFL insider Diana Rossini, there's growing momentum towards banning the tush push. Do you, Braden, think it should be banned?
I kind of do. I mean, it's almost impossible to stop as a defense.
The Bills got stopped with their whole season on the line in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, but they're not as proficient at it as like the Eagles. It's hard to stop. I mean, it's just hard to do unless you want to have your D lineman sacrifice.
The Giants
his neck.
aren't as proficient at passing as the Chiefs are. Should the Chiefs not be
It's
allowed
not.
to pass?
But here's the deal: if you want to be, like, it's not a safe play, and I've talked about that before. It's not a safe play. So if you're gonna shove safety down my throat all the time with kickoffs and everything like that, and then ignore the tush push or the brotherly shove, I think it's a topic of debate. But at this point, I mean, it's just to me, it's the pushing from the back, the bush push part of it. I think should be outlawed, not necessarily the quarterback sneak with that. So that's my take on that particular deal. We're getting back to baseball. We're getting back to your phone calls when we come back. Overreactions from yesterday in the baseball world. Show Settings Number Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Lunchtime hour. It's the time where Adam Klug starts downing some carrots. Get some carrot snacks in there to move through the day as we continue on and get you ready for Padres baseball coming up tonight at 6:40. First pitch at 6:40. Pregame show starts at 5:40 with Sam Levitt right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Tony Good Jr. and Chris Ello and Matt Scraby will take over after me to be the pregame show as we talk about Padres baseball. 1-0 to start the year. A 7-4 victory for the Padres over the Atlanta Braves. A lot of good positives out of yesterday's game. We'll talk about some of the negatives later on. I mean, there are some things that need to get cleaned up. You know, Elias Diaz behind the dish. You saw yesterday why he's on the team. It's for his bat. Defensively, wasn't that great. I think some of it had to be, some of it was because of Michael King. He was all over the place. He was a little wild. King was a little wild in his first start of 2025. So he's got to clean that up a little bit. Elias Diaz needs to be better behind the dish. Jake Cronenworth needs to show up and perform a little bit better. I know he's going against a lefty and everything like that, but an 0-for-4 day for Jake Cronenworth. Yuli Gurriel, that experiment's not off to a great start. So there are some negatives in there. It's not like, we're not going to sit here every win and be like the Padres are going to the World Series, followed by every loss, time to sell the franchise. Ridiculous overreacting. Today we've had a lot of positive overreacting. Some people are like, hey, it's just one game. It is just one game. And if the Padres lose on Sunday Night Baseball, I'm sure we'll have a lot of negative overreacting on Monday. That's what we do as fans. You do in talk shows. It's a lot of overreacting, which actually perfectly segues us into our next segment of overreactions, buy or sell. Everybody's going to overreact to the first game of the regular season. I think you can name some overreactions in the Padres game as well. But CBS.com, CBSSports.com, Matt Snyder, who has been a friend of the shows here at 97.3 The Fan, put together his opening day overreactions. And we're going to buy and sell some of those here in just a little bit as we kind of keep you updated with Major League Baseball. I mean, we can talk about the Padres as much as we want. We don't want to be stuck in an echo chamber, though. We got to know what's going on around Major League Baseball. Do you want to get your phone calls today as well? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Scott in Del Mar. Wants to talk about the Pods a little bit. Scott, what's going on? How's your Friday, man? Scott, are you there? Scott's not there. Bummer. Let's get out to Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch, what's going on? How's your weather on the East Coast?
Oh, not too bad. How you doing, Braden? I'm just dealing with my grandson. A little light scare again. It's a real trip. But it's the best time of the year. Of course, end of September is the worst time of the year. The years are just flying. I like the lineup. I'd rather see Merrill either batting fourth or second. But find him long term. And one guy I'm sure you remember. It's the only time I've seen a San Diego Padres game. Of course, I have to go to Philly or New York. Josh Naylor. Is that why they're saying Arizona's favored to win second place? Because Josh Naylor is a good player. I wish we had captain. Let's not have Jackson Merrill. I'll leave us too. Sign him long term now as soon as possible, if it's possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Mitch. I appreciate the phone call. Josh Naylor off to a good start with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks lost last night, if I'm not mistaken. The Cubs went out there and hammered 10 runs on them. So Cubs beat them 10-6 over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hey, good start. Good start. We're talking about division, watching the division. You can be upset all you want that the Dodgers are 3-0. They beat the Tigers 5-4. But Arizona, who you're really competing with, Arizona, Diamondbacks, that's who you need to worry about. They lost 10-6 last night. Off to a great start. Giants came back and won yesterday against Cincinnati, which is interesting. Scott Del Mar's back. Let's get to Scott real quick before we overreact to Major League Baseball's opening day. Scott, how's your Friday?
Hey, what's going on? I appreciate it. Yeah, Friday's going well. I'm excited for a Padres win yesterday, and hopefully we can keep it going with a good series against the Braves and get off to a hot start. But yeah, I just wanted to check in, say what's up, and I think this year is going to be different than any other year. Bold prediction: Tatis 40+ and the MVP. I think he's going to go 40, 40-30 on home runs and stolen bases. I'm really excited for the Padres season this year. Going to be going out Saturday to the game, and let's go Pods. I appreciate you taking my call.
Absolutely, Scott. Well, hopefully you come join us at Tom's Watch Bar before the game on Saturday. We'll be out there live leading you up to first pitch, which is an earlier start time, 4 o'clock, 4:15, 3:15, 4:15, 4:15. 3:15 is the pregame show. 4:15 is first pitch tomorrow. It's on Fox. So hopefully we see Scott come out to support at Tom's Watch Bar. Should be a fun time. 40-40 for Fernando. 40-40 for Fernando MVP. It's not out of the question. It's not out of the question. It's off to a great start for that. Overreactions might involve a little bit of Fernando Tatis Jr. Let's talk about some of the overreactions of opening day as we bring Adam Klug in to buy or sell the overreactions of opening day around Major League Baseball. Game number 1 on the list. Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Tigers yesterday 5-4. Ohtani hits a home run late to take the 5-4 advantage. Tigers battled back a lot of times here, but Dodgers now 3-0 on the season.
Sorry, I was looking for a little something there, but let's go. Here's your first overreaction from opening day from Matt Snyder of CBSSports.com. And obviously this is a little bit unfair because the overreaction, it's supposed to be from opening day, but the Dodgers have now played a handful of games because of the Japan series. The overreaction is that the Dodgers are the best team ever.
I'm going to sell that already just because the more people say it. I think, to me, if you ever want to consider a team the best team ever, you have to finish the season before you even mention that. I think it's a recency bias, obviously. I think a lot of people are expecting them to be the best team ever. And the more hype they get, the funnier it's going to be when they lose later in the season. And hopefully that is the case. So when the Padres knock the Dodgers out of the playoffs later in the year, it's going to be even more special because it was the Dodgers.
Obviously a prime example of why we wait until the season's over. Because look at the Golden State Warriors, who set the all-time wins record and then didn't win the NBA title. Same with the Patriots, who went undefeated, right?
Seattle Mariners.
Got to win the title.
120 games.
116 wins.
Next game on the list, the Yankees beat the Brewers yesterday 4-2 in the Bronx. No Garrett Cole. It was Carlos Rodon getting it done for the Bronx Bombers. They outlast Milwaukee 4-2 as mentioned. They improved to 1-0 on the season.
Obviously, Carlos Rodon got the big 6-year, $162 million deal with the Yankees a couple years back. Has been shaky with the Yankees since joining the Bronx Bombers, joining the Pinstripes. But overreaction that Carlos Rodon is ready to fill Garrett Cole's shoes. Cole won't pitch a single inning or a single pitch for the Yankees this year.
I sell that. Talk to me when Rodon does it against a more prolific lineup than the Milwaukee Brewers. Tell me when he doesn't. Not necessarily on opening day. I think if you had to pick somebody to potentially fill the shoes, I'd probably lean a little bit more towards Max Fried than Carlos Rodon, just with Max Fried's track record and his ability to pitch. I think he has a better opportunity to do so, but I don't think I'm ready to say that. Garrett Cole has, been elite for a long time. And I don't think Rodon's going to do enough to fill those shoes for the New York Yankees. I'm going to sell that. Stay in New York. We talked about this game yesterday as the New York Mets came up against the Houston Astros and lost 3-1. They were getting blanked until the last inning when Francisco Lindor hit a sacrifice fly to drive in a run. Mets getting a lot of hype this year, though, Adam.
Well, here's your overreaction. The Mets are overhyped. Are you ready to call them overhyped after just one loss? In epic fashion,
I'm buying that. I think they are overhyped. I was talking about this with Kyle Glazier yesterday in the press box. I think the Braves are the best team in the National League East. I think the Phillies are close second. In fact, I think the Phillies might, miss out on being a division champion by maybe one game to Atlanta. And I just don't see it with the Mets. I know they brought in Juan Soto and they got Francisco Lindor. Second half of their lineup is nothing special. And their pitching staff is okay. It's not great. So yes, the Mets are overhyped. I think the Mets are overhyped all the time. I'm buying that.
What market are they in?
New York.
Well,
extra sweet against the Dodgers.
There you go. Let's move over to the O's, the Baltimore Orioles. Adley Rutschman is the former #1 overall pick, hyped up as the most prolific catching prospect of our generation. Had a terrific rookie season, but really hit that wall and had a sophomore slump that we hope Jackson Merrill doesn't also experience. Them Baltimore boys, as Jackson Merrill likes to say. Rutschman came out with a bang yesterday, 2 bombs. Adley Rutschman and the O's are back, and stacked, according to Matt Snyder, CBS Sports. Overreaction, yay or nay?
Hey, 12-2 victory for the O's over the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. How about this? How about in that game, Tyler O'Neill? How about this for a record that he has? Tyler O'Neill already broke this record, and he has now added to it. Tyler O'Neill homered for his 6th straight opening day. I mean, something that's just so ridiculous you wouldn't even understand. He was asked about it before the season started, about whether or not he's going to do it again. Tyler O'Neill was like, we already own the record. I might as well swing for it and see if I can add to it. And he hit his 6th straight opening day homer.
Insane.
That's crazy. But to go back to the question, Adley Rutschman is back. Buy. Orioles are stacked. Sell. Who's pitching for Baltimore?
They just got new ownership. How are they not
Who's
spending money
pitching
on
for
pitching?
Baltimore? Until they acquire pitching, I don't know who's pitching for Baltimore.
Zach Eflin was their opening day starter, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's good.
Fine.
But you lost Corbin Burns, and you should have gone out there and got more starting pitching. That's the biggest thing with your young core of guys. And they decided not to do that. And now, no, I don't think they're stacked. Offensively, maybe. But
what do you always say?
no.
He's good. He should be the number 4 starter on a world
100%,
championship team.
on a world championship team. 100%.
You know, a lot of Padres fans always wonder, are we out of sight, out of mind over here on the West Coast, right? But let's say Matt Snyder took notice. Overreaction from opening day. Here comes Tatis's MVP season.
I buy it after yesterday. It's a major overreaction, but I am buying it. We've been talking about it earlier on the show. 40-40 season incoming for Fernando. I can see it. I can see him having 40-40, and if I think he gets the 40-40, 40 stolen bases and 40 home runs, I see him winning an MVP. It's going to be tough. You got Ohtani in the division. You got Ohtani in the National League. You know, he's coming back to pitch. That's always a different factor. But I think Fernando's going to give the National League a run for their money in MVP this season. I'm buying it.
Let's go one more here. Talking about the other side of the first place Chicago White Sox. Put some respect on their names, Braden. They whooped the Angels yesterday. Overreaction. Off of one game, the Angels are an embarrassment.
The Angels are an embarrassment. They lost yesterday to the Chicago White Sox by a score of 8-1. They got 1 run late in the game, but the White Sox, who are not expected to compete this year, went out there and slugged against the Halos. The Halos have, nothing but really Mike Trout, and he's banged up and getting older. They're spending all this money on players that aren't even playing, like an Anthony Rendon. They got no direction. They just cut Mickey Moniak. I don't know why they did that. Obviously, he wasn't playing up to the potential that they thought that he could play at in Anaheim. That's going to be a rough year. I don't think there's going to be a lot of times you're going to be driving on the 57 or on 5 South and seeing the halo lit up. I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, 8-1 to the White Sox. These are one of the teams you're supposed to beat this season if you're the Halos. And they got smoked yesterday. Congratulations to Will Venable, by the way, getting his first win as a Major League manager, former San Diego Padre, obviously near and dear to our hearts for all the times he spent here in San Diego. Big congrats to him. Angels are flat out an embarrassment. They will be the worst team in Major League Baseball this year. That's my buy overreaction.
Worse than the White Sox.
I think so. We'll see how this weekend goes for the White Sox. But the Angels, man, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. They went out and tried to buy the 2015 All-Star team during the offseason, think it's going to help. It's 2025. That was like 10 years ago. I got the White Sox over the Angels this weekend. Maybe they take 2 out of 3. I need money. Hey, you know what? White Sox 162-0 is still in play. It's still in play. I don't know if I put a bet on that, but it's still in play. Nonetheless. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We had a couple of things with AJ Preller we didn't get to. We're going to talk about what the money is in terms of spending on future contracts and why they didn't make any trades this offseason. Plus, coming up later in the show, Justin Toscano, who is a San Diego native that's now working in Atlanta for the Atlanta Journal-Sentinel. He covers the Atlanta Braves. We'll get a full preview of the next 3 games coming up between the Padres and Braves at 12:30. Plus, in the 1 o'clock hour, MLB executives make their picks for the season. And here's what they said. They said a lot of interesting things about the San Diego Padres. So what does the rest of Major League Baseball think of the Pods? We'll talk about all of that. That's coming up next on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 12:20 on a victory Friday for the San Diego Padres. They won yesterday on opening day, trying to go 2-0 today. Renato Lopez for the Braves against Dylan Cease of the San Diego Padres. Renato Lopez last year faced the Padres twice. The opposing pitcher for Renato Lopez and the pitcher for the Padres in both those games, Dylan Cease. It's Renato Lopez, Dylan Cease, Part 3 coming up tonight at 6:40. Sam Levitt will have the pregame show at 5:40 right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I want to get to some more sound from AJ Preller when he was on with Ben and Woods earlier today, but we also want to get back to your phone calls a little bit. Let's get out to Marcus out in Menifee. Marcus, big Padres fan, excited about yesterday. What's going on, Marcus?
Hey, Braden, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, man.
So a couple things. First thing, you talk about Dinger a lot. Sounds like he's your favorite mascot.
In Major
Who's
League
your least
Baseball?
favorite mascot? Yeah.
Dinger's pretty nice. He's pretty funny. The Triceratops. What was your other question? Who's
Who's your least favorite Major League mascot?
least favorite Major League mascot? Oh, that's kind of tough. I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, some of them are kind of lame. I mean, some of them are really generic that I don't really like too
All right,
much. But that's about it. I mean, I have to think about that. I'll tell you guys on Monday.
Yeah, for sure. Stew on that one. Secondly, I thought yesterday's game, win or lose, it was a great game because we were facing Sale, a lefty, Cy Young. And last year, half the season, we could not hit against a lefty at all. And Ello and Craig, shout out to Craig, were preaching that all first half of last season. So win or lose, it was a great game. And I loved every minute of it, listening to Jesse and Tony. So have a good Friday. Have a good weekend to you and to Adam. Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Marcus. Thanks again. Yeah, got able to tag a lefty a little bit. It was good stuff. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. It's got to Kevin in Chula Vista. Kevin, what's going on, man?
Let's go 162-0. What do you say?
Still in play, Kevin. I keep telling people it's still alive. We could still do
There
it.
you go. You got-
Starts again
got a
tomorrow.
dream,
Starts
man.
again today. One game at a
There
time.
you go. Yeah, well, that'll be after the first loss. That'll be one day or one game at a time. But just to go back on some of the themes that you presented, the strategy for the offense, if you can remember, it was 2-3 years ago in 2023 when it was a complete mystery as to what the Padres were trying to do. And now that mystery has at least been cleared up a little bit. And I agree with you. Let's be aggressive. It may blow up once in a while, but so what? I'd rather go down swinging and trying than the opposite, which we already know what those results are.
If you're going to fail aggressively. Don't mind it. What else?
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as Fernando goes, my only worry is the more he runs the bases, I worry about injury because he still has not beaten that tag yet because he hasn't played a full season. We need a full season out of Fernando. And so to whatever extent we can cautiously go through this without losing him, I know it's a two-edged sword here that we have to look at. Last, I'm concerned about our cleanup situation still. Nothing against Andrew Bogarts, but that's not his spot, not his role, not a good one for him, in my opinion anyway, to date. And this is an Achilles heel that continues to fester along with the catching position. I don't understand why it's been so difficult for this franchise to find a decent power hitting first baseman for more than a decade now. So that's my only downside. Yeah, Michael King was a little bit off yesterday too. Yeah, no question about it. I think the moment might have gotten to him a little bit, and the calls from the umpires at the beginning were not helping as well. He was, I think, cheated on a few of those calls by our home plate umpire.
Kevin, you bring up some good points. Appreciate it, and appreciate the phone call as always. Yeah, a lot of things to unpack. I mean, obviously the Padres got to work on a handful of things. The catching situation is what it is right now. I think Elias Diaz being able to swing the stick is going to help out a lot. Obviously, Michael King needs to be a lot better. Elias Diaz needs to be better defensively. Luis Ariz at first base. I mean, there's a couple of balls that you probably get from other first basemen. If he wants to play first base and not be a DH all the time, he's got to make some of those plays, even though the throwing error was on Xander Bogaerts. That's still a ball that needs to be caught at first. I think Ariz knows that as well. In that particular case, I agree. Xander in the cleanup spot's kind of an interesting position as well. And again, the first base power hitter situation for the Padres. You're going to have to think about it from an aggregate perspective of Luis Ariz mixed with Gavin Sheets or maybe a Yuli Gurriel. But Yuli Gurriel didn't look very good yesterday either. I mean, aside from a couple of balls he hit foul really hard, it was an 0 for day for Yuli. I'm curious to see how long of an experiment that is going to be, the Yuli Gurriel experiment. You got to give him time. It can't just be like one game, like, didn't count, didn't cut it, see ya. You're gonna have to give him at bats to see if it works out or not. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We got to get to Justin Toscano here in just a little bit, but we do have time for one more phone call. Kathy in Los Angeles. Kathy, what's going on?
Hey, Braden. I'm just ecstatic that baseball's back because I missed it so much. I mean, I was bouncing back and forth between this game and the Royals game because unfortunately they were on at the same time. But luckily at work yesterday on the computer, I was able to kind of have both of them on the screen at the same time. But you were talking earlier about Tatis and the stealing of the bases, and I think watching him on base and with the bigger bases and him being healthy, it's going to be a fun season to watch him on base all season. So I just can't wait for that to see what he does this season.
Yeah, me too, Kathy. I think he's poised to have an MVP level year. So, and we think that's going to be the case for him this year. I think if he can continue to stay healthy, with the 40-40, I think the 40-40 is well within reach for Fernando Tatis Jr. Kathy, appreciate the phone call. Thanks again. A lot of Padres fans excited for 2025 after the first game. It's still just the first game. 3 more against Atlanta. Got to be a fun series this weekend as it continues. Again, different kind of start times over the weekend. Games on Fox on Saturday, which will be a 4:15 start. And then on Sunday, it is Sunday Night Baseball. So a lot to discuss more about the Atlanta Braves. And joining me next on the Braden Surprenant Show is Justin Toscano, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He reports on the Atlanta Braves. He's the Atlanta Braves beat writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. San Diego boy, too, so it's good to have some local ties into it as well. We'll preview Atlanta for the weekend series for the Padres and what to expect from them for the rest of the year as they get some players back. And we get some good news for Braves fans out there in terms of one of their star pitchers making a rehab assignment. We'll talk more about that with Justin when we come back. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 12:34 on a Friday. Victory Friday for the San Diego Padres. The City Connect Day for San Diego. That's why we got all of the City Connect colors on our graphics today on YouTube. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Padres continue their 4-game series against the Atlanta Braves coming up in the next couple of days, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Again, we got some different times throughout the weekend with game tonight starting at the usual 6:40 time. Tony Gwynn opening day tonight. AJ Cassville had a nice article on that on Padres.com. Tony Gwynn opening day obviously makes a big impact here in San Diego. And then Saturday, that game will be nationally televised on Fox at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. And then Sunday, another nationally broadcast game on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball for Padres and Braves. Of course, you can listen to every game right here on 97.3 The Fan. We will have the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show tonight starting at 5:40 with Sam Levitt after he takes over for Gwen and Chris, who will be on after me in the next couple hours or so. This hour, 97 through the Fans, brought to you by the Central Valley Reptile Expo. Don't miss the Reptile Expo March 29th and 30th at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Shop snakes, lizards, frogs, go frogs, turtles, and spiders from top local breeders. Enjoy a live animal show, meet an alligator and a sloth. Get tickets at centralvalleyreptileexpo.com. Can't resist. Joining me now on the Braden Surprenant Show is a San Diego kid through and through. Went to St. Augustine High School. So for anybody that says I'm biased to only putting Cathedral Dawns on, we do have a Saintsman coming on. So, tell Anthony to get off my ass about that. We do respect all high schools here in San Diego on the Braden Surprenant Show. He now is a beat writer for the Atlanta Braves for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a graduate of the Cronkite School at Arizona State. His name is Justin Toscano. He's here for the next 4 days covering the Braves. Good to have you back in America's finest city, Justin. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course, Braden. Good to be back, man. Thanks for having me.
It's always good to have the Saints Cathedral rivalry in full display on the talk shows here in San Diego, but we'll put that to the side for now. And then make sure to give my buddy Sam, your buddy Sam, crap for me when you see him again this weekend. Aside from that, getting that out of the way, let's talk about this weekend series. Obviously with Atlanta, very important series to start the year, get off to a good start. Are missing a handful of players, but yesterday didn't really go the Braves' way, but they're expected to have a really good season. In fact, a lot of people are picking them to win the National League East. Obviously, in your article yesterday, it's just one game. What did you see out of the Braves yesterday, and what is the overall expectations for this club entering 2025?
Yeah, honestly, the at-bats were a lot better. That was my first takeaway, was it looked like there was more of a plan. They've got a new hitting coach, Tim Hires, from Texas. He won a World Series with Texas, won a World Series with that 2018 Boston team. So he comes with a lot of pedigree. I thought Profar made a world of difference, as people here, know in terms of the at-bats. I think, he saw more than 20 pitches over his handful of at-bats yesterday. That was something. They've got so many free swingers in that lineup. That was something they didn't have, but it was still kind of undone, by that bullpen. They had a lot of structure in their bullpen the last couple of years. And the first new guy, I guess, quote unquote, new guy, non-roster invitee they go to yesterday, Hector Neris, gives up that bomb to Gavin Sheets, and then it kind of unravels from there. They'll be fine. I mean, they're gonna, you could sell me on the Braves winning the World Series. You could sell me on them, winning the pennant. You could sell me on them finishing second in the NL East because it's a good division. But the important thing is that they're getting back Spencer Strider at the end of the month, and then Ronald Acuna shortly after that, should be, toward the beginning of next month. So they're still talented. And I think a lot of talk about the Dodgers because of how much money they spent, but that Braves core is still, really, really good. You'd probably still take that lineup over almost any in baseball.
And a lot of the Braves, big key players are not even playing with the team yet, obviously. And we'll talk about Spencer Strider in just a little bit. There was some news on him about making a start tonight. And as well as Ronald Acuna Jr. expected to be back within a month or so. You're going to get Sean Murphy back eventually. So haven't even get to see the full strength Braves yet. Tonight's starter, Ronaldo Lopez, going against Dylan Cease. A little bit of a preview for our fans out there about Ronaldo Lopez. Last 2 times he's faced the Padres, he's had to go against Dylan Cease. There'll be part 3 tonight.
Yeah. It's and he had a great year last year, sub 2, the ERA around 2. led the majors for guys above, a certain amount of innings, although Chris Sale took home the Cy Young. And look, he was a reliever. People might remember him as that kind of high leverage, dominant, fire throwing reliever with the Angels, and then with the White Sox. But years ago, he was a starter with the Nationals when he signed out of the Dominican Republic. And he can pitch. I mean, he's lived it, he can go up to 96. He could live 93, 94, 95, get it done with fastball, slider. That's what I like about him. He knows kind of when to step on the gas and when to kind of conserve his energy. Really, really smart. And I think, the Braves and what they did with him, with $30 million over 3 guaranteed years. I think they kind of set a little bit of a new trend for baseball in terms of teams looking at how they can optimize relievers who used to be starters and get a little bit of value out of that instead of paying $100 million plus in free agency for starters. So Ronaldo's, should even be less of a leash on him this year because he had the full starting year last year. So he should even pitch more.
Talking with Justin Toscano, who is the beat writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a local man out of San Diego, obviously, a big time. It's good for us to have some local products on from across the country. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the young players for Atlanta. Drake Baldwin had a really good year in AAA last year. Gets pressed into action, obviously, with the injury of Sean Murphy, cracking a couple ribs during spring training. Yesterday, made his major league debut. Hit the ball really hard, didn't get too many results for it. Padres ran a lot against Drake Baldwin, but there are some talks about Drake Baldwin potentially, being a guy that could, be the everyday starting catcher for the Braves, and maybe even so while Sean Murphy's under contract. What's been the hype around Drake Baldwin, and what do the Braves expect out of him as the future catcher of the Atlanta Braves?
Yeah, so the Braves actually, some teams, executives will hype up their prospects or, when people make the list. The Braves actually make other teams do their own work, so they don't hype up guys, a ton. Obviously, the obvious top prospects everybody knows about. Drake Baldwin wasn't a very obvious guy coming out of Missouri State in 2022. They drafted him in the 3rd round, so they drafted him high. But at the time, he was more of a bat, and the catching, had improved his junior year of college in 2022. But look, they believed in him, and the bat's real. You saw the plate discipline yesterday. You saw the ability to put the bat on the ball and kind of hit it toward different fields. Jackson Merrill's responsible for a kid not getting his first career home run yesterday with that nice robbery at the wall. But he's been really good. And the big thing to me is you kind of know, like, when you talk to pitchers, off the record, but even on the record, you can kind of get a feel for like what they actually think about a catcher. They might not say it, but they'll say it with their face or their eyes or the tone. And guys love him. Like Chris Sale loves him, knows how prepared he is. He's an easy guy to talk to. He's learning, and he goes, look, he's not winging it back there. Spencer Strider a couple of weeks ago said that he makes the glove look like it's 5 miles wide. And that's a comment I've heard about, any good catcher I've ever covered. Like you'll hear that, make big target, that sort of thing. And I think the catching's really, really come a long way. It's going to be interesting because I think Baldwin's really, really talented. There's no reason to leave him in the minors now, although you'd rather have, a top prospect playing every day. But I think there's ways, especially because he's a left-handed bat that could be coming off the bench, there's ways to maximize his value when Sean Murphy comes back. But it'll be interesting. If he plays really well and Sean Murphy comes back and struggles to get it going a little bit, you kind of might have to see where the chips fall, because the Braves did extend Murphy, upon trading for him a couple of years ago. And so he is making, $15 million a year and upwards of 70 on that deal. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Justin Toscano of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Atlanta Braves beat writer, getting us previewed for the rest of the weekend on opening weekend, as the Padres will continue with 3 more games against the Atlanta Braves. It's very interesting with the Drake Baldwin situation at catcher. The Braves have produced a lot of young catchers the last couple of years and have actually shipped them off to other cities. With Contreras being, maybe one of the most notable ones. They didn't obviously think he was maybe a catcher in the future, and he's done a great job as they tried to find that backstop of the future. They now have Sean Murphy, as you mentioned, under a big contract, and they got Drake Baldwin. Is this another one of those situations maybe where, they've learned from the past and now they want to try to hang on to one of these guys instead of maybe using them as trade bait?
Yeah, I think so. Nowadays, I think it benefits a lot of catchers to play almost, the majority of games and catch the lion's share and get regular at bats. But nowadays, the thinking inside the game and front offices is that if you can have like a two-man catching job, usually that's pretty strong because you keep both guys fresh. And there's not a ton of guys like Brian Snitker, the Braves manager, always says it. Like, there's not a ton of guys that can catch every day anymore. And he would always say the only one really now is Real Muto because he does everything. He runs well. Somehow he stayed healthy. That was until last year he had that knee thing. I would think they've learned from the past. I mean, look, they were in on Crochet this offseason and kind of, checked into him, tried to get him. Once you saw the package and what the White Sox got for him from the Red Sox, you knew that the Braves just weren't inclined to give up Drake in that deal or others. And so that's how much they value him. And I really do think they've learned from the past and they really like the kid's makeup. A couple years back, they thought it might be a steeper climb for Contreras defensively. Obviously, that hasn't proven to be so true. How much you equate that to Milwaukee's catching development, which they're known for, and how much it's the Braves making a mistake, probably a little bit of both. It's somewhere in the middle. That might be Alex Anthopoulos' biggest mistake is Braves president of baseball operations as it looms right now, giving up a guy who immediately becomes an MVP candidate. And I think they've learned from that because look, they've seen injuries happen. Even when they had Murphy and d'Arnaud last year, Murphy had an oblique injury. He suffered opening day. d'Arnaud had a concussion at one point. So you don't want to be in a situation where you just think, okay, we need to ship one of these guys off and then the other guy gets hurt. I think there's room for both of them, especially because Baldwin being more of that natural bat to begin with before the catching came on in college. I think there's a use for that, and a left-handed bat off the bench, is never a bad thing. And we saw how good the bat was, yesterday, and he really hit all throughout spring training and throughout the minors. So I think there's enough value there where they're different enough where you could maximize them both.
Justin Toscano of Atlanta Journal-Constitution joining us on the Braden Surprenant show as we preview the rest of the series against the Atlanta Braves and a little bit of the Braves for 2025. Obviously, the Padres and Braves might be competing for wild card spots if the Braves do not end up winning the division. Braves are going to get some help, though, as we mentioned before. We talked about Sean Murphy enough. Ronald Acuna Jr. is expected to come back at some point during the season. And now we have latest news on Spencer Strider, who had a pretty good spring for only getting 2 starts. They only really wanted to give him 1. They're being extra cautious with Spencer Strider. But with the more he performs at a high level, Justin, I mean, how cautious are the Braves actually going to be with a guy that can definitely help them out sooner rather than later?
Yeah, no, totally. They're going to be, they're going to have to be careful to a degree because Spencer's one of those guys that, he'd pitch for the big league team tomorrow instead of in Charlotte if he could. And so that's where he kind of leans on the training staff, him being a little intelligent and knowing, okay, hold me back when you need to. I think, if he continues to look sharp, I would think with the way his build-up's been, it's probably going to be tomorrow and then a couple more after that. I don't think they'll take it out super long, especially when you look at the time frame of an internal brace surgery compared to Tommy John, with the internal brace being kind of like that shoelace that's tied in instead of a tendon graft that you heal faster. And usually it's like a 12-month recovery and doesn't stretch into 15 to 18 months. So he's right on line. And honestly, I think if he feels good these next couple, they'll start to tune him up on that final one. So maybe he only makes 5 instead of 6 between spring training and the minors. But I think he's pretty close, especially with how sharp he's looked, how well the ball's coming out of his hand. I think at this point, it's a matter of checking the boxes and just properly building up the arm and making sure the mechanics are synced up to stay healthy, and the changes that he made with lower half timing and things like that to stay healthier, synced up. Because he looks good, and there's no, you knock on wood, but I don't foresee any setbacks unless anything weird happens because he's in a really good spot.
We talk a lot about the National League West out here, obviously with the San Diego Padres, and the Dodgers have, overtaken a lot of the talk during the offseason, and a lot of Padres fans are worried about, them and probably the Diamondbacks more than obviously the other coast. National League East is expected to be kind of a gauntlet of a battle at the top 3 with Atlanta, Philly, and New York. What is the Braves fans' expectations for the season? And for you, how do you see this division playing out? Because right now it looks like it's going to be a slugfest at the top.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I think Braves fans were in that camp, like, everybody here that the Dodgers are bad for baseball. And, you've probably debated that ad nauseum on here, but I think that's where Braves fans were, is coming from a place of of a little bit of insecurity of like, oh my God, they're spending a ton of money, and oh my God, the Mets are spending a ton of money and the Braves are doing nothing. And that's kind of usually how it works with like who gets the talk and the hype and the headlines, is whoever does the most over the winter gets those. But you could argue that the Braves, from a roster standpoint, especially with their core and the guys they have extended and the young players under team control for more than 3-4 more years, that the Braves were already ahead of, the Mets and the Phillies and teams who spent money. Obviously, the Dodgers are a different case. So I do think that there are a lot of Braves fans who think that this team's still the best in the division. And look, if you know baseball as well as anybody, I wouldn't be shocked if the Dodgers don't win the World Series. In fact, I expect them not to win the World Series. Like, that's just so tough. And when you have all those personalities in the clubhouse and all that attention, really, really tough on a daily basis. It's not football. It's not football where you can tune out and then all the attention's on one day. It's just a different beast, and there's so much parity in this sport. And I personally think the Braves still win the NL East. The Phillies are going to be really good again. I just think they're getting a little older, and they don't have the depth the Braves do, like top to bottom in that lineup. So if there is an injury to Harper or Turner or somebody, I don't know that they get over it as well as they did, a year ago. And they're putting a lot on Wheeler and Nola again. And I don't know what to think about their bullpen. The Mets, I need to see more from Vientos and the guys on the fringe like that in that lineup to know that they're going to be here to stay. And I don't like the rotation right now, that they have a couple guys injured. So we'll see how they hold up through that. I still think the Braves are going to win the NL East. I think they're the best roster, but like I said earlier, you could sell me into, either them or the Phillies. And I expect the tough thing for people here in San Diego is like, I think a lot of people expect the Phillies and the Mets, or whoever, the two teams that don't win the East, to make the playoffs. So, but I could easily see like the Diamondbacks or the Padres making it over the Mets.
One more question I want to ask you, Justin. It's a NL East related as we run up to the end of the hour here. With the Washington Nationals, obviously they made a lot of those moves with the Padres, especially the one with Juan Soto deal, where they got a lot of prospects back, and Mackenzie Gore looked good yesterday with 13 strikeouts. I know you're focused on Atlanta, but is Washington poised to have kind of a surprising season for people in the National League East?
Yeah, they're not bad. And I will say that, like, having watched them over the last, I covered the Mets before this, so 6 years. 7 years. That rebuild, like it's going well. They're not bad. Last year they took the season series from the Braves. That didn't happen in the last since I think it was 2013, 2014. Since the Braves' rebuild, they've got a lot of good young players. I like Abrams, especially as he settles in defensively. James Wood obviously is great. Gore looks like he's really, really, really coming into himself there. That's the reason, honestly, I think that there's not going to be an 100-win team in the NL East, because I think that now the Marlins are really the only team that's going to get curb stomped by everybody else. I think the Nationals actually are pretty good. They don't have the depth of some of these other teams, especially in that bullpen and, in their pitching staff. But they've got some talent, so yeah, they're definitely, I would say, I was talking to a colleague about this a couple of days ago. If they were in the Central, and we were, two people who watch the NL East a lot, if the Nationals are in the Central, the NL Central, I'm telling you, I think they could win it. I think they could beat the Cubs or the Reds or, Milwaukee for it. I think that's how much I think of their young players. But on the other hand, man, I was telling somebody that's just James Wood, as good as he is, I'm not shocked that Preller did everything he could to not include Jackson Merrill in that trade.
Absolutely, Justin. We appreciate the time, man. As always, we look forward to talking to you again when the Padres are down there in Atlanta. Have a fun trip here in San Diego, in your hometown, and look forward to talking to you later in the season. Have a fun 2025 season.
Cool. Thanks, Braden. Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. Justin Toscano, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Atlanta Braves beat writer, joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Give us a full kind of preview of the National League East. The Padres have to be worried about the NL East to an extent, at least Padres fans. The Padres themselves in the clubhouse just need to be worried about themselves. I mean, and just focus on their team. And that's what the message is that we're getting each and every day from the clubhouse. And that's what they should be focused on. But when you're a fan, you want to think about playoffs and potential race to the World Series, everything like that. You could do it. You're a fan. You don't have to worry about, Padres fans worried about other teams and everything like that. And being a fan does not have any impact on how the Padres play. So you could do it. That's what we're going to do on the talk show. NL East is where it's at right now in terms of your competition mixed with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So got to give you a little preview on that. MLB executive make their picks for the season. Who's most likely to take down the Dodgers? What did MLB execs think? Plus, win the NL MVP if it's not Ohtani. We got answers to that. Might involve the Padres when we come back at 1 o'clock on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 1:00 on a Friday. One more hour to go this week. Although I will be live tomorrow on 97.3 The Fan. The Braden Surprenant Show will be on from 12 to 2 tomorrow at Tom's Watch Bar. Tom's Watch Bar tomorrow. All three of our shows. Got an extra show this week on a Saturday to be out there with all of you guys. Here are the details. You can join us as we broadcast live tomorrow at Tom's Watch Bar on 8th and J from 10 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. for the East Village block party. Ben and Woods will hit the air at 10 a.m., followed by the Braden Surprenant Show, myself, and Gwen and Chris. Check out all the baseball action while enjoying Blue Moon and Coors Light, along with delicious food like Tom's famous prime rib dip sandwich. That's this Saturday at Tom's Watch Bar on 8th and J Street, brought to you by Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. You'll have a fun time tomorrow. We'll have some prime dip sandwiches together. It'll be good stuff. Leading you up to Padres baseball. Setting UFC also plays this weekend. Drake Hills will be joining us later on in this hour to preview that, as well as talk a little bit about the international break period that everybody else does and not MLS. We'll talk about that, get you a little soccer preview for the weekend. To finish the show, we also kind of dive into a couple more things that AJ Preller said on with Ben and Woods as we kind of wrap up this last hour of the Braden Surprenant Show. But, just to recap so far, Padres with a win yesterday over the Atlanta Braves, 7-4. They're now 1-0 to start the year, which is a great start to the season. Couldn't ask for a better start, 1-0. 162-0 is still in play. Just saying. We'll see what happens the rest of the weekend. Ronaldo Lopez will be for the Braves tonight against Dylan Cease. Again, tonight's game will be at 6:40 with the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt starting at 5:40 tonight. Coming up tomorrow, again, we have an earlier start time on Saturday than we usually have on Saturdays, and that is because the game is on Fox. So Saturday's game on Fox between Atlanta and San Diego will be at 4:15. And the pregame EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show will be at 3:15. That will be Spencer Schwellenbach for Atlanta against Randy Vasquez. Mike Schultz yesterday did mention that Randy Vasquez will be the starting pitcher for the Padres on Saturday, which means Kyle Hart will then start Monday against Cleveland. So that's tomorrow's game, 4:15 start. 3:15 EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, Spencer Schwellenbach and Randy Vasquez. And then Sunday is Sunday Night Baseball. Again, not a normal Sunday start time, but that's what happens. You're on national television because you're a team that everybody wants to see. 4 o'clock on Sunday, Atlanta and the Padres. This game will be on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. It's A.J. Smith-Shawver versus Nick Pivetta. We get to see the debut of Nick Pivetta in a Padres uniform on Sunday. And again, the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show will start on Sunday at 3 o'clock for a 4 o'clock game time. Although it might be a 4:20 start officially. ESPN has it listed as 4 o'clock to get you to tune into their little pregame thing that they do. I'd rather listen to Sam instead. So that's kind of how the weekend plays out for the Padres and the Atlanta Braves. We're going to listen to AJ Preller in just a little bit. He is an executive in Major League Baseball. Jesse Rogers put together an article in which he went out and did a lot of hard work of interviewing 18 MLB executives and scouts and asking them some predictive questions for the season. So, asked the panel of baseball insiders to predict how the 2025 season will play out. Who will be the breakout teams and stars, who will be the biggest names moved at the trade deadline, and which pitchers and hitters they would like to see up with their season on the line. After opening day already in the books, whether your team is 1-0 or 0-1, obviously a lot of baseball left to play. Here's how the 18 MLB executives and scouts answered those questions and more. Respondents were given the option to skip questions, so not every answer has 18 potential votes. And the first question that was asked in this who is most likely to forum, who is most likely to take down the Los Angeles Dodgers? He framed this question as which teams is most likely to beat LA in a head-to-head postseason series, As you could tell by the voting, which we'll get to in a second, executives are pretty split on who can take out the Dodgers, but they're nearly unanimous on when it could happen before the Fall Classic. National League simply looks stacked this season, and the NL teams above have talent and experience in short series. Anything can happen. These teams are banking on it. Who could take down the Dodgers? MLB executives said seven of them said the Braves, 5 said the Phillies, 4 said the Padres, only 1 for the Diamondbacks, and 1 for the Red Sox. MLB execs are thinking that if the Dodgers make the World Series, they will win the World Series. I honestly think that's probably the case. I don't think the American League is very good. I don't think it's going to be good this year. I don't think it's good this year. I don't think a lot of their teams at the top are very good. I mean, the Red Sox are everybody's favorite right now to win the American League pennant. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that obviously they went out and got pitching, but they don't have too much competition in the American League. Who's going to take down the Red Sox? Is it the Yankees, who are missing 3/5 of their starting rotation, have Giancarlo Stanton out for a significant amount of time, lost Juan Soto, and wasn't able to really do anything against the Dodgers in the World Series? We have Trent Grisham starting in center field. Is it those Yankees that are going to take down the Red Sox? Is it the Orioles that are very young and have a lot of talent but have no pitching? Is it the Central Division? I mean, the winner of the Central is going to either be the Royals or the Tigers. Is it one of those teams that's going to take down the Red Sox? It's nobody else in that division. It's not the Twins. Is the Guardians going to play gritty enough to knock off the Red Sox? Out west, is it the Texas Rangers? They already played the Red Sox yesterday. It's only one result. But the Red Sox seem to take care of business against Texas. Texas is getting some guys back from injury and are expected to have higher expectations this year than in previous years. Is it the Houston Astros? Do they make another run, even though Alex Bregman is now a member of the Boston Red Sox? Sure as hell ain't going to be the Angels out in the West Coast. They're embarrassing. It's not Seattle. Seattle doesn't have enough bats to pair with their starting rotation. Who's it going to be? As of right now, you go through division by division. The Red Sox are probably the most poised to win the American League, which means if the Dodgers make it to the World Series, they're winning the World Series. I almost think you could say the National League Championship Series is basically the World Series. I think the Braves got a good chance to knock off the Dodgers. Like the Phillies got a good chance to knock off the Dodgers. And if the Padres play like they did yesterday, I think the Padres have a good chance of knocking off the Dodgers. I think that rivalry aspect and that emotional aspect goes a long way in this particular setting. Surprisingly, only 1 vote for the Diamondbacks, though. As much as the Diamondbacks are getting a lot of hype, only one executive thought the Diamondbacks can knock off the Dodgers. Even with all the hype, they still don't think the Diamondbacks can handle the Dodgers in the postseason, even though they've done it before. In fact, they had to do it to go to the World Series a couple of years ago. Here's what some of those executives said. Phillies have been knocking on the door. We'll add at the deadline, have a good amount of star power with proven vets at the top of the rotation. Another executive said a healthy Braves team could go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers. That was from an AL executive. The slower return of Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. could work to their favor later on, with those guys being geared up at the end of the season instead of tired. If they're peaking come October, watch out for the Braves. It's a good time to play the Braves right now. That's what the Padres are doing. One scout said, give me Chris Sale in October. We'll see if Chris Sale can make it through the year. He's always injury prone. Here's what another NL executive said. I know this is obvious, but the Padres nearly pulled it off last year. That reminds me, I would want the Dodgers in a 5-game series. The shorter, the better. I totally agree with that. The lone Red Sox voter made his case. If the Red Sox prospects and young guys like Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, and Marcelo Mayer, San Diego product, are all part of the lineup come October, I'm going with the Red Sox. I think the Padres got a good chance of knocking off the Dodgers, but not have to worry about that until October. Again, the shorter the series, the better against LA. Who is most likely to be the 2025 breakout team? The executives who chose the Red Sox are fairly confident in their picks, while most of the execs who picked other teams admitted they were taking flyers on them. The Athletics got the second most votes with 4. Red Sox got 6. Twins, Blue Jays both had 2. Rangers, Nationals, Giants got 1. The A's might be a surprising team to see here for casual fans, but inside the game, they are intriguing this season. We talked about that with Scott Miller. The move to Sacramento could turn into a home field advantage if they embrace it, according to one executive. Quote, do people realize how much the A's hit in the second half, says one NL executive. They have a couple of budding stars, plus they added pitching. Why not them playing in a minor league ballpark in Sacramento? I think, and we talked about this with Justin Toscano, I agree with this NL executive. I'll take a flyer on the Nationals. I know they're in a tough division, but there's a lot of talent there. End quote. There is a lot of talent there. Did anybody see the Nationals-Phillies game yesterday? I know we were gung-ho at Petco Park having a great time, but the Nats really took it to the Phillies in the early portions of the game. Now, it unraveled on them because their bullpen's not very great. But you look at the Nationals and what they did yesterday. In particular, this is going to piss off Padre fans. In particular, are you ready for this, Padres fans? Anybody pay attention to the game yesterday for Washington? Does anybody know who started the game yesterday for Washington? The opening day starter. That means he's basically their ace of the season. Anybody see who made that start? Bueller. It's Mackenzie Gore. What did Mackenzie Gore do against this lineup of Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Baum, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, Max Kepler, Nick Castellanos, Bryson Stott, and Brandon Marsh? What did Mackenzie Gore do against that lineup who could potentially win the NL East and what executives said have a good chance of beating the LA Dodgers? What did Mackenzie Gore do to those guys? He went 6 shutty. Allowed 1 hit. He went through that order and it gave up 1 stinking hit. And he punched out 13. And if it wasn't for the Nationals bullpen being lousy and the fact that their offense only gave him 1 freaking run, he would have got a dub. And the Nationals be 1-0. Instead, they're 0-1 because their bullpen stinks. Sims blew a save late in the game. Poche gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned in extra innings as the Phillies put up a 4 spot in the top of the 10th and beat the Nationals 7-3. The Nationals had a 1-0 lead going into the 7th. Bullpen couldn't hang on to it. Mackenzie Gore, great day. 6 innings, no runs, 1 hit, 13 punch-outs. It was only going to take a matter of time for Mackenzie Gore to finally find his stride, hit his stride, and be a major contributor to the Washington Nationals. I've said it all week. I will continue to say it. I'm glad the Padres made the trade for Juan Soto. I think it benefited them in the long run. You've got an ace back in Michael King. Now you have to re-sign him, and you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay him more than these guys are paying Mackenzie Gore. But you brought in other pitchers. It kind of replenished itself. We'll see what happens. You have to give up good players to acquire good players. And at the time, it was a good move for the Padres. I'm going to say that. Probably would be nice if you're the Padres right now to have Mackenzie Gore in your starting rotation starting on Saturday instead of Randy Vasquez. But hindsight's 20/20. Offensively, James Wood went 0 for 3, and C.J. Abrams went 0 for 5. I mean, they went a combined 0 for 8 with an RBI and a walk. And they struck out 3 times. I'm more worried about losing Wood than anything else if you're a Padres fan. The Gore thing, I think, eventually was going to work out. He was a first-round draft pick. And he was mental for a long time, but he was able to overcome it. Executives continue to answer some more questions. We'll get to those as we continue. Plus, what did A.J. Preller say about adding at the deadline? Will the Padres have money to add at the deadline if they need it? He answered the question on Ben and Woods. We'll get to that when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So close. Could have had this be the last segment. Instead, it's not. So sorry, it's over. It's over in the next segment. But we will continue tomorrow as we have a special Saturday show live at Tom's Watch Party. Watch Bar. I don't know why I keep calling it Watch Party. Social Tap turns into Tom's Watch Bar. That's where we'll be tomorrow at start the day with Ben and Woods at 10 a.m. start. We have to keep mentioning it because Woods keeps forgetting us to work tomorrow. 10 a.m. Woodsy. He's got to be there before 10 a.m. I don't know what time I'm going to be down there. I'm going to have to get down there early because of the parking situation with the game starting at 4:15. So I'll be down there early at Tom's Watch Bar. Come down, say hi during Ben and Woods. I'll be on right after from 12 to 2, and then Matt Scraby and Chris Ella will be there. Chris said he's going to down a bunch of those famous prime rib dip sandwiches. I'm going to have at least one. I got to try this. It's famous. I got to try it. The old Social Tap. Now Tom's Watch Bar, 8th and J, 10 a.m. to 3:15. Sam Levitt will have the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show live from the loft to get you ready for first pitch between the Braves and the Padres tomorrow. Schwellenbach going against Vazquez is tomorrow's starting pitching matchup. Today, it is Renato Lopez and Dylan Cease, part 3. They faced off against each other last year twice when the Padres played the Atlanta Braves. So we'll continue on. We got one more segment coming up. It will be with Drake Hills to give us a preview for San Diego FC over the weekend, as well as he'll explain the international break period for international play in soccer. We're going to, learn a lot about soccer as we talk with Drake each and every Friday, on top of learning about San Diego FC. So if you're interested in San Diego FC, kind of want to know how the soccer world works, will be very informative for you coming up at 1:35. I do want to mention what the executives were saying about the Padres, or should I say about their picks for the season. We're going to get to that if we have time. But AJ Preller said a lot of important things on Ben and Woods today. And we played some of them already. If you want to go back, you can listen to our show. You can download the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Again, make sure you give us a like on the YouTube page today. 44 likes, but we've had a lot more of you guys watching today. If you're watching right now, hit the thumbs up, give us a like. Let's get above 50 likes today. That'd be great for the algorithm. Be sure to follow me on social media at B_SURP, at BSURP, on TikTok, Instagram, and on X, aka Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. But so if you missed any of it, all of our stuff is archived on that and on the app, as well as on YouTube. You can go back and watch all of our old shows. Some of the questions asked to Preller that we already played was, the opening day roster and Jackson Merrill being such a pro. But obviously, a lot of Padres fans are worried about, shaping this roster in the future and shaping it, as the season progresses. And one of the questions asked to AJ Preller was about not making any trades this offseason. I think a lot of people thought AJ Preller was going to make a trade before opening day. Didn't. This is the team that the Padres put together, which is so far off to a good start. Here's what AJ Preller said about not making any trades this offseason.
I mean, it's again, like every year is a little bit different. I think part of it too is we have that core and nucleus, so it's not like we're trying to fill, which is, all by design. I think something that sat down and talked with Peter and Ron about over the years. Obviously something that Peter believed in, wholeheartedly. And, you get that core nucleus, you shouldn't look out if you have a good group and a winning group and have to make 10, 12 different changes every single year. Hopefully you have a team that you believe in. And, when you have guys like Merrill and Tatis and Manny and Bogart and Cromer and on, it's like, all right, now you're filling in around those guys. And every offseason is a little bit different, the timing of it. I think, people, I think you look back at last off season, and it was pretty quiet, I think, too, for most of the off season. And then we were able to do some things. We made the Cease deal at the end of spring. Yep. We made the Arise deal a month in. And then, I think Solano and Peralta, as you got into May and June, and then we were active at the deadline. So it's kind of like every year is a little different. There's been some years where we've been more aggressive in the off season. This year we were a little bit more aggressive late with some of the end of spring training roster decisions, and then the Pavetta signing right before spring training. And it's always a work in progress, the roster. It's I think we're always looking for opportunity. So again, like we'll kind of get into the year, and the bottom line is that we were trying to put a product that can win a World Series. So there's different types of activity, and different levels, different years. This year was, more quiet until we got to spring training. And I feel like it's been active in spring training, more with guys that we had in our camp. And we'll keep looking to improve if we can and go from there.
AJ Preller makes moves not to make moves. He makes moves when the opportunity arises to improve his ball club and make his team as close to a World Series caliber team as possible. Sometimes that arrives early in the season. Sometimes that arrives in spring training. Sometimes that arrives the night before opening day, as we saw early on in his career here with the San Diego Padres. We've seen him make in-season trades before the deadline. We've seen him make deadline moves. I mean, it just comes about of when they can make a deal where they align on certain particular players and ones that they think are going to improve the ball club. So a lot of people thought he was going to potentially make a move before the regular season started. Didn't. Obviously, none of the moves arise, but there's some other moves that need to be made out there. He talked a little bit about Eddie Rosario. We're not going to play that clip for you. He's trying to find a place for him in terms of a trade because he's got 7 days to trade him before he gets sent off and can sign with anybody. So, that's going to be something to pay attention to in the next couple of days or so. I already saw that Brett Sullivan cleared waivers and he got added to the El Paso roster. So Brett Sullivan back with the organization. That happened earlier this week. But I think a lot of people, just with the budget that has been in place for the Padres in terms of they've already spent a lot of the money and they're trying to stay underneath the competitive, balance tax, and they want to, still be in a position to compete for a World Series. With the moves on the fringes during the offseason, it kind of concerns Padres fans that they won't have opportunities to make moves at the deadline, spend more money, or with the capital that they have in terms of minor league players, an opportunity to make moves to help the team if they need it at the deadline. Here's what AJ Preller said when asked about permission to acquire talent this year if needed from John Seidler.
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday in the before the season started there in that scrum. Personally, I think it's year 11 now. Maybe I've had a lot of different setups, and it's been Mike D, and then Ron Fowler and Peter, and then Peter, and and Eric Katsenda, and with John in place, I could just tell you, like, everybody I've worked with and for, they want to win, and they understand, like, this is about bringing a championship to San Diego. John's a baseball fan. I mean, he went to 60+ games last year. It's, you talk about our guys and our players, like, he was living it last year for sure. So, again, like, we're here to win a World Series. I think, everybody feels it from our players, our staff, hopefully from our front office. It's all about trying to get to that big stage and doing it year after year. So, I think the commitment is there, and, it's fun to be a part of it from an organization at top to bottom. And you just look at that ballpark yesterday. I think before it started, I said to Eric Rubner, I was like, this place is amazing. Like, honestly, you look at that field and you're like, it's like, it still looks like it's brand new. And then the energy the fans bring, I think everybody's just so excited to have baseball back in San Diego. You can feel it from the fan base. So it energizes us. I think it energizes John. And, again, I think the goal is the same, like, go out and win, and the commitment is there. And we're going to keep doing what we need to do to try to put a team on the field that gets to October every year.
Love that answer from AJ Preller. We've been talking about it the whole year. I mean, it's business as usual for the Padres, despite who the control person is, despite who the ownership is. It's the same group, and it's going to be the same level of interest in trying to win. And we'll see what they got under their belt when it comes to the trade deadline. We've only had one game. We'll see how tonight's game goes. San Diego FC plays this weekend. We will have a preview with that with Drake Hills as he joins me next. Plus, with some more time, we'll talk more about Padres baseball this weekend as well. Braden Surprenant Show, final segment, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 1:33 on a Friday afternoon. Getting ready for Padres baseball. After me will be Gwen and Chris, and then it will be the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt, leading up to first pitch between the Padres and Braves, game 2 of a 4-game set this weekend. Not the only team playing this weekend. San Diego FC back in action, of course, as they continued their season and now try to bounce back from their first loss of the year over in Austin. So we'll talk more about San Diego FC over the weekend. They will play at LAFC for a big rivalry game. You have a brand new team. I don't know how it's a rivalry yet, but that game will start at 7:30 on Saturday. So hopefully you'll be able to watch the Padre game, and then when the Padre game's over, you can watch LAFC and San Diego FC for a full preview of the game and the match, as well as learning a lot about soccer and the way it is, as we have a brand new team in town. Joining us, and who has been joining us each and every Friday, is Drake Hills. Drake Hills is a contributing writer for Black Players for Change. He had a nice little article a couple of days ago on the MLS and a lot of MLS players. Be sure to check that out. But pleased to welcome Drake back to the show. Drake, what's going on, man? How's your Friday?
Pretty good. It's pretty good, I got to say. I mean, like you, spent the Thursday overseeing, covering a little bit of MLS. So obviously, it's a big media day for teams that are playing on Thursday. But I had to balance that with a little bit of opening day action. I was there. I enjoyed it. Nice right behind home plate. Not on the 100 level like you, Braden, but I was there. I was there nonetheless.
Well, it's a big matchup for you, Drake. You got your hometown team, the San Diego Padres, and then the team your family's from in Atlanta. So nice little Drake Hills matchup yesterday to start the season, huh?
Yeah, I call it the Drake Hills rivalry. Just like you said, man, I don't quite understand how a team, and I'm sure both fan bases will agree that this really isn't a rivalry yet between San Diego FC and LAFC. But, it's going to be good to see what begins the history between these two teams.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I feel like the rivalry is a little forced right now, just because San Diego, LA, city-wise is a rivalry, especially with Padres and Dodgers, and obviously with the NFL moving to LA and everything like that. But let's talk a little bit about that match before we dive into our topic of the day and international match calendars to kind of get people a feel of what the international window is. San Diego FC coming off of a loss. Their first loss of the season to Austin FC. Let's break that game down real quick before we start previewing the next. What did you see out of San Diego FC? Obviously missing a handful of players, a couple to international time, obviously, and then, of course, a decent amount of injuries so far for San Diego FC led to their first loss on the road.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we should first, let's just contextualize this whole first loss of the season. I know some folks will feel, oh, well, what happened? How did we lose this game? And maybe other folks will say, well, we went 4 games unbeaten. So, I guess it's only right that we will, have to take a loss on the chin to kind of know what that feels like for an expansion team. But let's just understand it. MLS, it's very difficult to win on the road. Going back to 2023, we have an overall record, not just one team or an expansion team, but overall in Major League Soccer, the average winning percentage for teams on the road is sitting around 24%. So imagine looking at your entire schedule. You got 17 games at home, 17 games on the road. Of that 17, only 25% are going to come out with a win. So it's really tough to win on the road, just overall, regardless if you're an expansion team or not. But looking at this game against Austin, and Braden, you and I, we talked during the show last week at Dave & Buster's, which was a great time. Brandon Vasquez, he only took him 10 minutes to get his first goal. And we talked about his hunger, and he hadn't really found that groove for Austin since coming from Monterrey in Mexico. This is a San Diego, Chula Vista guy, has played for the U.S. men's national team, and he was able to get that goal. And then, of course, John Gallagher got the second for Austin FC. Luca De La Torre had that consolation goal just after a quick response. But I think when you take a look at this matchup, it was always going to be tough with the conditions. And San Diego FC hasn't played in that humidity. Temperatures were in the mid 80s. It was bright. It was sunny. They just didn't have it. They didn't have the players. We're going to talk about international duty and how that affected them. But San Diego FC, I think that second goal, Mikey Veras, the coach for San Diego FC, he mentioned that was, not something that you're going to see very often, especially at this level in this league where you just give up a goal so easily. But I think it will be a lot different against LAFC this weekend.
Well, we talk about that in just a little bit. There was one part in the game, and I can't remember the goal off the top of my head, but where Austin FC was rewarded a free kick, and then they quickly, put the ball down and went for it, and it looked like San Diego FC was caught off guard, or their player thought it was a whistle. What did you see there? What can you make of that? And is that something that's obviously played out a lot in soccer in terms of trying to quickly maybe catch your opponent off guard after a free kick is awarded?
Yeah, that's what Mikey Veras, the coach for San Diego FC, was talking about yesterday during his media availability. That is something that you won't really see much in the professional game. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you do happen to be caught sleeping, that will probably make your social media feed, whether it be ESPN or Golazo, Goal Network, or somebody, Sky Sports, somebody will probably put you on blast for making such a mental mistake. Especially when it comes to, early in the game too, right? I mean, to go 2 goals down within the first 20 minutes of the game, regardless of if you're missing some of your top starters from international duty or not, obviously haven't had the best yet from Chucky Lozano as he battles back from that hamstring injury. Marcus Ingvarsson, you haven't been as healthy, so your best guys are not on the field. But regardless, I mean, that has nothing to do with talent. It has everything to do with focus. But I don't think you'll see that against LAFC this Saturday.
Let's talk about LAFC for a second. I mean, obviously San Diego FC is trying to, claim it as a rivalry to start things off, trying to get some fan engagement and everything like that. There's 2 teams in LA with LAFC and the Galaxy. San Diego already beat one of them on the road. Now they will be playing in a different location, this one over by USC, where the LAFC plays. What does LAFC bring? What kind of style of play do they run? And how does San Diego match up against LAFC?
LAFC they've got the heavyweights, right? I mean, Olivier Giroud is a player that came into LAFC and gave them a real spark. Some folks who watch international soccer will know about Olivier Giroud, Hugo Lloris from France's World Cup victory in 2018. They've got some other top MLS players as well, as far as Jeremy Ebobisse, who has played for the U.S. men's national team. He's played Portland Timbers, San Jose Earthquakes. He's a veteran who scores a lot of goals. But ultimately, you have someone in Denis Bouanga, who is also a top professional coming over from France. He's 30 now, but he's been someone that has, he's scored goals, for he's probably one of the best players in MLS as far as getting in front of goal and scoring. So they have a lot of star power. Timothy Tillemans, they have an Aaron Long, who's a bona fide U.S. men's national team center back. So this is a team that I think has a lot of experience. They have a lot of experience. Not only they've won an MLS Cup, coming after actually beating Austin FC a couple of weeks ago, and then, of course, getting that win over Sporting Kansas City. They're on a roll, right? They're on a roll. Excuse me, I misspoke. They lost against Austin FC, but they were able to get that W against Kansas City. So they do have that momentum going into this game. So I think it's another test for San Diego to see how they match up against a Denis Bouanga, another star-studded striker. But they will have their guys back. And so I'm excited to talk a little about international duty. Anibal Godoy back. Patty McNair is back as well. So you'll have some reinforcements. And I should say, Braden, we could see Chucky Lozano this weekend. Mike Averas, the coach from San Diego, says that Chucky will be on the bench this weekend, battling back from that injury. So that's good news for San Diego.
Some big news for San Diego to get Chucky Lozano back. Drake Hill's joining us as he is a contributing writer for Black Players for Change, covering the Major League Soccer here in town and really helping us inform others about the soccer world as we have a brand new Major League team in town. San Diego FC off to a good start. Just lost their first game on Sunday against Austin FC, but back in action tomorrow at LAFC at 7:30 tomorrow night. Let's talk about this international match calendars. Now, after consultation with relevant stakeholders, FIFA publishes an international match calendar for the period of 4 to 8 years. And over this, their objective in the process is to make a football calendar that is fit for purpose for modern needs, contributing to the improvement of the quality of players, clubs, and national teams, and giving both incentive and opportunity for the detection and development of talent outside a small number of countries, meaning they give a window for a lot of the leagues around the world to take some breaks in order for players to play for their nations in international play. How has this been put together? And it seems like a lot of leagues are a part of this, but the exception of Major League Soccer.
It's quite a truncated experience, Braden. So this calendar it creates a different dynamic than you'll see with basketball and the NBA or baseball with MLB or even the NFL. Obviously, you're essentially overlapping schedules internationally with domestic sports. So you essentially have a season within a season. Well, you have, let's just take a look at CONCACAF. CONCACAF is an abbreviation for all the nations in North America and Central America. So you're talking as north as Canada, and then you're going as south as, Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, obviously in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Puerto Rico. You have Costa Rica is another top tier one. And of course, Panama for Anibal Godoy, who plays for San Diego. This governing body will have games against each other in North America against North American teams. But sometimes that doesn't overlap with what's going on in Europe or in Asia or in Africa or South America even. So almost every other month, if not every month, you'll have some federations abiding by the FIFA calendar and some who do not. So like you said, Braden, you'll have Major League Soccer who generally doesn't stop, unlike other leagues, like the English Premier League, who does stop playing games during the FIFA calendars, and they'll have an international break. So that means that the club teams will stop playing while the national teams are playing. Not so much for Major League Soccer. So that is why you have guys like Anibal Godoy, who is a pivotal piece for the midfield for San Diego FC, a veteran at age 35. He's played in Major League Soccer for the past 10 or so years. He has that experience, as well as Paddy McNair, who played for, of course, Northern Ireland. They played a couple of games against Sweden and Switzerland. Anibal Godoy reached the final, was a part of that Panama team who upset the U.S. men's national team in L.A., was able to reach the final against Mexico. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the win. But you have this awkward situation where you're going to miss guys in and out of the year. So, of course, March, the international window just ended a couple of days ago. You'll have another one at the beginning of June. And then, as I mentioned, CONCACAF, which is that North American region, there's going to be what we call the Gold Cup, which is every North American team is going to participate in this mid-June to early July tournament. It's a big deal. And then you've got September, October, and November to close out the year. So we've got a lot more international soccer to come, and how that meets and collaborates with Major League Soccer and San Diego FC games. We'll see which players are going to be available, Braden, but it's going to be something that San Diego fans will have to get used to.
Drake Hill's Black Players for Change, contributing writer, covers Major League Soccer for them, and obviously covering San Diego FC, explaining the international window. So, just kind of follow-up question here for the interview. But, so all of these calendar dates, for most leagues, they're not going to play, and their players are going to go play internationally. As for the MLS, they will continue to play games, but if your players play for their international club, you will be missing them during these particular time frames. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And not only that, Braden, but you will have a time when we talked about the League Cup. I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about that maybe a little on later down the season, but you will have other competitions as well. So the international window is simply just about trying to get as many federations as possible to adhere to this time where they can have continental matchups, sometimes intercontinental matchups, like the friendlies that we like to say, essentially bona fide, glorified preseason games, or what we have these Gold Cups or Nations Leagues, these tournaments that actually mean something, but they are going to conflict with a Major League Soccer schedule. So the only reason that Major League Soccer games will pause is this summer, going into late July, early August, where we do have the Leagues Cup, where Mexican domestic teams will play against American domestic teams. But that's a little bit later on. So yes, Braden, you will have a Major League Soccer season that essentially blows through all the FIFA calendars. So you could miss Chucky Lozano if he gets called back into the Mexican team. You could miss a Chucky Lozano. You could miss a Anibal Godoy if he goes back to Panama, or a Paddy McNair if he goes to Northern Ireland. So it's something to look out for the rest of the inaugural 2025 Major League Soccer season.
Drake, I appreciate the time as always to help us fill in a lot of people with the soccer world that aren't used to it. Try to get some more viewership for our brand new MLS club here in San Diego. Really appreciate the time as always. Talk to you next week.
All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens. San Diego FC, LAFC. Well, I don't know, Braden. Will this be a rivalry? Will it not? We'll see.
We'll stay tuned for next week. Maybe after watching the game, we can have a report back.
All right. Take care, Braden.
Drake Hill's joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Again, MLS in action over the weekends. A lot of, we'll have some Friday and Monday coverage of the MLS and San Diego FC as they progress throughout the season. Another major league team in action, but obviously the main focus is going to be on the San Diego Padres. And we, again, thank Drake Hills for his time. I want to get back to this since we have a little bit of time. Some of the MLB executives and what they said in a questionnaire about predicting the season. We talked about the breakout team. We talked about who could take down the Dodgers. Another question asked was, who wins the NL MVP, ... if it's not Shohei Ohtani? And there's been a lot of different answers on there, but there was one answer for Fernando Tatis Jr. And I think Fernando, he's off to a great, it's just been one game. It's only been one game, but Fernando, I think he has a good possibility of potentially going 40-40. 40 stolen bases, 40 home runs. We know he's got the pop for it. We know he's got the speed for, stealing bases, and he's already been aggressive. He looked like 2019 Fernando. If he could stay healthy, this year might be a year that he puts together an MVP season at age 26. So I think he's got a shot. You see a lot of other players on there. Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker now in the National League, Bryce Harper, of course. I mean, Acuna Jr. is going to miss the first month of the season. He got 2 votes. Jackson Merrill, Matt Olson, Francisco Lindor, all players that were mentioned in that particular case. We don't need to talk about the AL MVP too much. Who's most likely to become a superstar in 2025? Well, they asked MLB executives this, again, 18 general managers and scouts to give their answer. 2 people voted for Jackson Merrill. I think Jackson Merrill is definitely on this list. In fact, that's who I would pick. 5 picked Roki Sasaki. Jackson Churro was on that list. But to me, it's Jackson Merrill. We've seen how good Jackson Merrill has been. He's already gotten off to a great start to the year just in one game. I expect more for Jackson Merrill moving forward. I mean, I think right now he's a star in Major League Baseball, a young star, but he could be a superstar in 2025. I mean, he's got a lot of intangibles to be able to do that. With the way he hits the ball, with the way he steals bases, with the way he plays defense, I could see him being a breakout superstar in 2025. Interesting one here with hitters. If the hitter you'd most want at the plate with your season on the line, 11 people said Ohtani, 2 said Jose Ramirez, 2 for Bryce Harper, 1 for Mookie Betts, 1 for Juan Soto, and 1 for Stephen Kwan. If that's a question just for the Padres, what Padres hitter would you want most of the plate with your season on the line? To tie it all back into the beginning part of the show, I will always go with the leadoff man, or who should be the leadoff man every single day, and Fernando Tatis Jr. Fernando Tatis Jr. I think he's poised for a big year. 40-40 year for the Pods. I think it's relatively in play. Padres Braves later on tonight at 6:40. Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show starts at 5:40 with Sam Levitt. Coming up next, Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. I know they'll have a lot to talk about after the Padres victory yesterday. I know they were on yesterday a little bit, but we'll give you a full preview as the pregame show for Sam Levitt coming up next. I'm Braden Surprenant signing off. We'll see you tomorrow at Tom's Watch Bar from 12 to 2 on the Braden Surprenant Show, standing as number one sports station, 97 through the Fan.